I
Um,
I can't because it took so
so
long for me to go in Nana's room even. Like, that's what I don't understand. It's like, how do you I know people say don't judge, everybody grieves differently, but why are we grieving when we don't know where he is?
right. Exactly.
Like, you need to find him and get answers.
Yeah, because grieving is, I think grieving is different than, like, I don't know. It just, because I've never met Chris or Katie. I did get to meet Seth right recently. So, but I don't think he's grieving. I think it's just hard for him to have any joy in life when his son's out there missing. Um, it's the same thing for Jessica. When I was talking with her, I'm like, think it's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. And she's like, it'll never be okay until my son's home,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, that's the thing too. Like, now we're almost 2 years in, sadly. So I can understand going through all different processes, and so I can see, grieving the statistically stuff, but I can't in the beginning when we heard about Goodwill and going to Goodwill, and that's what I kind of meant. Let me backtrack because it was, you know, a little bit because of, I guess, yeah, you'll grieve now, right? Because you're thinking all the things.
Right. Yeah, because I mean everything is I mean as far as we know, it's all on the table because they haven't really come out and said anything except for like the lights are, they're saying the lights weren't anything. I still think that if that's the only activity that would explain anything coming from Sebastian's home, then that would be the key to what happened, you know?
Yeah, because they say that they have no evidence he left, right? But they also say that he's 14 still. Last I checked on that update.
I know. Oh wait, we were talking about that before too. I can't believe they haven't changed that information, you know?
But has anybody really brought it to their attention, like besides us? Like, has Craddock or Simmons or Carter? What is his name? Carter, right?
Yeah,
Had
Brandon Carter.
you know Chris went on that panel. Somebody sent me. He went on a panel for a little bit. I didn't think he said anything, but I didn't listen the whole time. Like, has anyone but all of you guys brought it up?
I haven't listened to it. Whose panel was he on?
I think it was QB.
Okay.
I think maybe
Oh, was
three
that the one
weeks
with
ago.
Julie?
3 weeks ago, maybe. For a few, he walked on
Okay.
and somebody sent me the timestamp. I can send it to you if you didn't hear it yet. I mean,
I
I've
was gonna say I don't think I heard it yet. I must have been I must have been out of it, or out of the loop, just with that because um, I know he had wanted to get up on a panel with Julie, and Julie hopped down, and something had happened there, but I didn't really watch the rest of it.
well, yeah, that was the last. I called it the tours, right? That was the last tour. That was a while.
The
I didn't
last
listen to all
tour.
those either, but
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
it would be nice if they were update tours, But no, this was just a few weeks ago, and I had listened for a few minutes, but I didn't hear anything. It was after the FBI update. I know that. So it's like, okay, you have all these people on the case. It would be nice if they could maybe, give a statement that he's going to be 17 soon and he's not 14 and he wasn't 14 when he went missing, hopefully.
Oh, it's a members only now. Little Red will see that I'm never gonna watch it. Little Red said that she put it on a members only. The
You
one
sure?
that just happened.
Oh, I'm sure if it was sent to me, I downloaded it. So I'll check and send it
Okay.
over. I learned my
I know.
lesson.
I'm like,
really fast that if something comes, you have to download it, unfortunately, with some of these characters.
That's true. That is very true. It's just like the March 17th interview with Duchess. It's not out there anymore. I don't know if she erased it or what, which
Well,
is strange.
everywhere.
Yeah. Well, because they talk about the flashlight in that one, which they never really talked about the flashlight, how Sebastian got it.
Or that it was yellow. That was another thing that was in that update too, right?
Well,
And then it's
yeah,
yellow.
like that's what I was like, okay, am I forgetting something? Because I was like double checking in my head too, like, okay, did I miss something here? Because it happens, right? Like it definitely happens. So I was like, maybe I've missed something, but I've never heard them say yellow until the FBI update. Well,
Mhm.
FBI, I say that because it was really Sumner County,
Well, that's what
in
I
my
thought was
opinion.
interesting. Yeah, it was interesting because we heard, at least it was the first time I heard of a new investigator from the FBI field office, I think, right? I could pull it up, but everything in it was this is what they're being told by Sumner County. Like, sort of,
Yes.
you know, it's
Like we
very,
have to read between the lines, right? I mean,
but no, last I checked, I don't think it was changed yet.
aw,
Um,
thank you, Trishy.
for the age, I don't think.
I don't remember it. I mean, I haven't gone back and looked, but you know, as far as I know, oh, Holly says it sounded like AI, which I could agree. I could agree
Mhm.
with that. That it's probably like AI, what it sounds like AI.
They still
Because
have to
they,
be inputting something. I don't think they're gonna give a whole update from Grok, but they could have. But,
right?
I would still hope that the lead investigators would come out and be like, "Hey, can we update this a little bit?" Just a
You
bit,
would think. You would think.
a little
You
bit.
know. Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm just gonna take a sip of my drink real quick. How do
Now, Mom, and we were talking about before you
I? Oh,
came
yeah.
up the threats and stuff. Do you remember, like, I mean, I know you could probably share a lot on that too, but like people were saying that there wasn't a lot of threats going on, but then there were. We were kind of remembering back like how many people said they were being threatened and that sort of thing. Um,
Well, there was a lot in the beginning. Sorry, I'm just getting my drink.
oh, no worries, no worries.
I don't want to drink and chew and start a whole thing on camera, guys. Um, no, I think there was a decent amount in the beginning, and I sincerely believe that because I've had too many weird experiences, and I've met other people that have had weird experiences, but nobody knows exactly, who they're directed by or why. So a lot of times I will say they, or because I don't know who they are. Who is they? I don't know. But I do know
Right.
that there's a lot of people that have had things happen. We had Bobby come out and talk publicly about having it happen. There's not a lot of people that have come out publicly, but we know different streamers. We had JRL, he had an experience. We had
Oh, true.
Riley
Yes, he
Leslie,
did. He
right?
did.
We had CJ. We had people across the board that had different unsettling encounters.
Robini did bring up CJ. Or no, I'm sorry. Is he with Narc Divers? I get them so confused.
I think so.
Okay. Okay. Hey, Steven, good to see ya. But yeah, so I mean, that is so interesting because I think that there was a lot of like, I don't know, back and forth with that. And I thought it would be interesting for you to chime in on it because I know that you've dealt with your share of stuff. And I mean, with me, I do think that it was Terry Lynn and White Boy both, right? That were
Mhm.
kind of working with the Proud Feet. They knew that he lived here. and his wife would be okay with doing that with him. And so in that way, I did get threatened in that way as well. But it was a little bit different, like it wasn't like, and it didn't happen while I was out there either searching or whatever. Like when we were out there doing any of that, nobody threatened me except for the neighbor on the last day when I was there. Didn't want her house being shown and was mad about me filming the ditch. But I mean,
Did you
other
want
than
to
that,
elaborate a little bit on that, or do you want to talk about that another time?
well, I thought it was just interesting because, like, I can understand it from both sides, right? Like, get out of our neighborhood, quit filming, that sort of thing. But it was also very strange. Like, who are you working for? And I'm like, I'm working for myself. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, I'm just working for myself. I'm a YouTuber. And the lady's sons actually followed me out of the neighborhood, which is weird, right? Because I'm not trying to find out information on them specifically. It's almost like Chris and Katie have certain guard dogs that play or something. But it was weird that never, nothing occurred until that day. But I was out of my vehicle surveying.
What I always found strange was that if nobody knew, which a lot of times we go out and we just normally and naturally, like I've shared with you privately, we have a reminder all the time.
Yeah.
We are there's flyers in the car, and if we're going places, then somebody holds those flyers with them and he hands them out, and that's just how it is. And
Yeah.
nothing happens. There's never, but if I say something or somebody knows, like when I had the toad, it was almost like they knew. It was weird because if I left right away, nothing happened, right? But if I went from one spot and I was doing my stuff over here, it's like an hour later, I'd be doing something somewhere else in town, and then all of a sudden, somebody would be behind me. Somebody would say something. It was never natural, like
Right.
the natural. But then I realized, when we didn't even think of this much. One of my son's friends had mentioned, like when we had an emblem, is that how you say it? Emblem was missing off of our vehicles, and that was something that now in hindsight, I wonder, like, was that something that was how they knew, whoever they are? I don't know. And why is it only some of them? Like, why is it only some people that have had these weird experiences? Because I've never bothered anybody. Like I've never bothered any of the parents. I didn't even monetize the channel for the longest time. I haven't even gotten a payout from YouTube yet. I have to update the taxes. Like I could show you guys, it's like $140.
Oh God, it's horrible.
It's not even like it could be a money thing where there's somebody that's mad about. Like none of it ever really made any sense for where it was coming from or why. Like because sometimes I thought, oh well, maybe it's for content, right? Maybe this is just coincidence or so many different things. But then when I've met other people and you start to talk about other things that have happened in certain areas and investigations, we've talked about Millersville. We've talked about, like, I have no flipping idea. All I know is that if I was a parent, I would want anybody to want to help find my son. I just can't imagine, like, being mad about it. I'd be telling people to leave anybody alone. Like,
Yeah. Well, even Seth
like,
in the
Seth
beginning
is the
was
only
like,
one that said
people,
that.
our searchers are being threatened, and then he's like, I got to worry about everybody that's out there. And I mean, that's how I would feel too. Like if they're out there searching, then I should be,
Well, I believe
Oh, I think we froze mom and
Happened. Oh, there we go. Can you see me now?
yes, you're good.
Oh, that was so weird. I wholeheartedly believe that because why would this is what people were saying on live, right? CJ was talking about stuff that happened on his live stream. Riley Lively was talking about stuff that happened. People were talking about it. JRL had it on film when Mr. Bowersox came out in the middle of the road, or I forgot exactly, but something like that. You know?
Very
So
true.
if you see that stuff that's happening with creators, why would you think that he's not being authentic? He's going off of what people are telling him. Why would they make it up?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, and I mean, it's very odd to me that the family members are the ones doing it in that regard. I'm not saying it's, every single time um that it's been, the family that's been doing the threatening, but we do know that time it was documented as such. We know with Betty that he was around the area and circling the area even. um so that's a major issue. um when it comes to the family being directly involved in those types of threats. um
And why
you
not
know
equal?
it is deliverance style behavior. It is, Trishy, and it's very disturbing because who does that? And then Sheriff Craddock's like, well, I'd never heard that the United Cajun Navy was being threatened, but it's like, but you,
Not true. They filed. I remember seeing the police report. I remember. I think one of them was a Riley Lively showed it on the TikTok. They filed it in Nashville. I'm almost
right,
positive that it was her that showed the entire thing on her TikTok. Because it was around the
wow,
time that those videos were of the cemetery she posted came out, and that was heartbreaking. But then I didn't know the messy stuff that they had been saying about Seth. I didn't know any, I was following it from that group, right? So I was following the updates that I thought were just the local people, and then I watched Nancy Grace. But there was a lot of other people. This is the thing that I've never understood, right? You had Travel Mom and all these other locals that go around, drive around there all the time. And then you'd hear all this propaganda of, we don't see you out there searching. We're the only one. First off, there's massive amounts of areas. You have no idea how many of us have been searching. You have
right,
no clue, right? You don't know. Because you scared people from wanting to even come out and talk about things. But why didn't you bother any of these people? I drove by the house of Dylan and I could say a prayer. I think it was in December, and of course everything's documented because you want to be careful with after what they tried to allude of me as back in September, pretending as if I could have had Sebastian, one person, they who shall not be named.
right,
So
right,
I, for my protection, had it, and I live here, had recorded everything that I do is documented, not just on an Apple Watch, but like all around, right? And then all these clip channels are making things about me being a stalker. It's like, okay,
well,
but you're not
yeah.
doing it to everybody else.
Well, and that's the thing too. Faye had said some. It's weird on Elevated Truth. Uh, the day he was exposing the trash and CP went up to stop him. How CP knew mom ended up allegedly. Do you want
That never
to talk
even
about that?
happened. That never
Because
even
I know
happened.
the answer, but
Yeah. That was somebody named MK Ultra, I guess, because they came in my chat afterwards and were like, I'm sorry, I had to come see who you were because it was me back there and they know it was me. And I'm just like, it sounds funny, right, at first. But the reason it was mortifying to me is that for everybody that didn't know, the panel and what was said on that panel in September and how I was trying to be private because I thought there could be something really important that needed to be get to law enforcement, right? Like I didn't want people to know where I was moving. I didn't want people to know that they said my son looked like Sabat. Like, we're here for this little boy. We need to find him. We don't need to talk about my child. We don't need to talk about anybody else's child. Sebastian is the one that's missing. He's the one that we're all trying to help locate. It gets, it still ruffles me up. But so nobody knows
it
that.
would me too.
Like, nobody has a clue on this panel how my name would have been, why I was brought up. They rewrite history. But I'm like, you're the stepdad. Everybody's going to listen to this, review this. And I'm supposed to now believe that this whole interview isn't scripted and bullcrap when I know you started it out with complete horse crap.
Right.
And there's a woman who films documentaries sitting there. And here I am still like, no, actually, I really hope that we can find this child. I'm not monetized. I'm not here for the effed up games. I'm trying to really actually help out. And to this day, there's not even one like, hey, sorry about that. Everybody was playing games back then. Like, not a word from them. So for me, this is different because I do understand content. I wanted to get back to being a content creator once my little girl was in school, because of her severe autism. I didn't have time the last few years, but I never would do it on the back of a missing child, ever. And I never will.
Well, and I think it's like there's a huge difference between talking about the true crime cases, getting them out there, than to talk about themselves. I think that's the thing, because if any of the parents wanted to just come on my panel and talk about themselves, they would be SOL, because I would want to be talking about Sebastian.
Yeah.
And we do see that a lot over on those other channels where they have them up on the panel, but they're not talking about finding Sebastian. They're just talking about themselves, like shooting the shit or talking about lawsuits or whatever, which is disheartening, Hey, Brenda Sue, thanks for being here. But it is, it's like, it's completely different in my opinion. It just is.
The thing too is, like, when everything was going on and I changed my opinions on stuff, it was because my opinions were just based on what I knew, what I was hearing and seeing. And it was before everything happened. It's almost like some of the stuff that was actually real, then all of a sudden got used like a psychological, like, art of war defense attorney strategy, almost from the pits of hell, in my opinion. Because everything was just like a joke. And I'm like, how is this? Like, this does not add up to me. Like, this isn't funny. You're a stepdad of a missing child. You're on panels. This is not, what are you doing? I'm just being honest. That, like, I don't know Seth from a hole in the wall. I'm not saying that he's innocent. I'm using logic. I'm using the experience that I have, what we've seen, what's out there. And I was told and shown things that I believe are completely made up. As soon as I realized it's not true, if Sebastian's out there, I'm not going to be partaking in that. If it's not real, that's not helpful. Right? I want law enforcement to make sure that people were seeing a lot of this stuff, and we didn't need that anymore. It was all at the same time. It was before the lawsuits, and it was just bad timing, I guess, because I didn't know the games that were going on. I didn't know Chris and Katie talked to all these people, But here we are now. He's still missing. And when I see stuff, like, people are always like, oh, well, they could all be involved. Sure, whatever. But at the end of the day, I see one man that when he's going on and I listen to everything, we know I went up and down and ridiculed a lot of what he said too. But he talks about Sebastian. I haven't heard him on a panel just partying it up. maybe 10% of the time.
Yeah, it's hard not to,
99 times 9.
I mean, people are still going to laugh. They're still going to have a sense of humor. Hopefully, that's what we want, right? We want people, we don't want to see somebody to be completely broken and devastated, because how are they helping or looking? And I have that conversation with Jessica too, with Devlin's mom, with her being in Arizona, and then, all of this happening up in Michigan. She can't just go down to the police station and talk to them. That's why with her GoFundMe, I'm like, we need to get you some money in order for you to get up there, right? For you to be able to see what's going on there, because it is very difficult. But I also, remind her that she's got to take good care of herself and keep her mindset good, even though, how do you do that? It's like,
I don't expect Seth to be okay at all. I think that when we see him and we see the bags under his eyes, it just makes me want to get another 1,000 flyers, because it's there's something, there's an answer somewhere.
what do you think triggered CP about you most, Mom? And I mean, I think any of us that talk about Sebastian are going to be a negative, it's a negative for them. But what do you
think? So I don't know. I'm not really sure, because nobody's ever made any sense of things to me. I do live here. I have no problem. Well, now I have a problem. If they wanted to talk on a live panel, then maybe I would let them, but I don't think I'd feel comfortable. It's just, this is too, I'm sorry, it feels like it's a joke, and it's not. And I know it's not, and it's not. And when I listen and I see all the way that some of that had gone, it's not the creators that how a lot of times on YouTube, you can't, they put us all in these teams and we have different opinions, but I can't do that. I'm not going to be mad at creators that I don't know what they're doing. A lot of people are here for a job. This is their income. We don't know what they're told, everything's subjective. Like when I was reviewing Bobby and Nina's video, right? I was under the impression that we were supposed to be showing this subjectivity. You could look at something one way and you can highlight everything that you see, right? That's the psychology. Then you can do it in another way. What I took from it, from my personal experience, didn't end up being relevant because it was the opposite,
Yes.
It's just, I don't get it.
Well, and I think when you really have this, you have like the smarts, and then you also are a mom yourself, and you also know what it's like to have a child who's on the spectrum, that's really valuable information. And if you're not, white knighting for Chris and Katie, then they don't want to hear it. I mean, I've heard them go complete radio silent on 2 different panels when Sebastian's autism was brought up. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it was a recent diagnosis, and they had no idea about, they just didn't have and in my opinion, if my child was diagnosed with, say, the rare chromosome deletion, and I knew about that since they were a baby, I would be talking to people about that more so than the autism diagnosis. But what do you think about that, Maman?
Well, definitely. And the thing too was we are going to have different, like she said, different perspectives, which is why if I listen to somebody, it's because I might like what they're saying. It doesn't mean that I agree. I don't know what happened with the creators, but it's not about all of us as creators, to me anyway. But we didn't know that in the beginning. I sure as heck didn't know in the beginning. I was, just like I am with any child, when I hear that they have autism, I'm thinking the worst because I've lived it. My ex-brother-in-law, God rest his soul, he was an adult, so I could understand, like Julie, she had a son with, severe autism. And I could think of the little kids because I was dealing with it in real time with my daughter. They elope, they wander, they have no safety concerns, they have no fear. But then as time went on, we found out that, wait a second, he's not little. He can talk, he can play chess, he can play video games, he's starting to like girls. He's already gone through the hormones. He's getting taught. Like, he's not this little boy that, we were all led to believe that has this severe, profound inability to communicate. And that's when I realized, like, okay, why would we be highlighting that and showing his younger pictures and not saying, well, he does have a rare condition, right? An ultra rare condition. These things can go along with it. The autism, to me, it's weird because the chromosomal deletion has tons of attributes that mimic autism, because autism is still a blanket diagnosis, right? It's a blanket. It encompasses all kinds of things. It's not as specific, like you're a diabetic type 1 or diabetes type 2. You would want to, I just thought, like, he had physical attributes. So if you saw him in public, that's the stuff you would need to know. Like, he has a little protruding bone, he has a little bit of a walk, or he holds his arm in a certain way, or, I personally can't think of any reason we would do that if we're trying to find him. Of course, my mind went, like a lot of people, is to, well, geez, he might be right around us and they just don't want us to see him or to know,
Well, exactly. And, we all have our own mannerisms, right? Or our own set of kind of, the way we are about ourselves, right? Like, so and who knows you better than your mom or your dad or your caregivers, right? Like, people that are around you all the time. And so, or your best friend, right? Your best friend might know you pretty well, or, know how to make you laugh, or, certain things. And you might have a different persona in public than you do in private.
Yes.
So I think that's important to understand, Sebastian, how he was in public and how he was in private, too.
We all are. Like, we're more comfortable when we're with certain friends, and we're more comfortable in all, there's a time and a place, and you learn that as you grow up, like.
Yes, exactly. Well, and then Trishy talks about the crossover symptomology, which I thought that's,
That's the word.
it's a big one, right? Because they do cross over. It's like, if you're on the spectrum, you might have social and emotional dysregulation, but that also comes along with the chromosome deletion as well.
Yeah.
So thanks, Trishy, for that reminder, because that's important. Behavioral docs can, imperfectly imperfect boy mom says they are uneducated on his diagnosis, and that's why they get quiet. It seems like they didn't care to understand him in that manner, in my opinion.
See, and the reason I kind of feel a little bit opposite, just respectfully, is only because once you understand the other disorders, they have the same, like, some of them have sensory processing, right? Some of them have behavioral analysis is used for many different things. And it really seemed to me that he had been getting help because Steph had him. So when he was little, he was getting a lot of the services because that's the treatments and the therapies that went with some of the things with the chromosomal deletion also. So to me, it was almost kind of like opposite, where it made you think that this is new, nobody knew, they didn't have a chance. But really, it's not any different than the stuff that was already being taken care of, except for in my opinion, the public knows more about autism than, it's kind of late in the day, so I can't really get my words articulated the best, but
I know what you're saying though. Yeah, like because autism, I mean, versus a very rare diagnosis like the chromosome deletion that Sebastian has, it is, right? It's like it's easier to kind of say autism where people would understand it better than say, well, he has this rare chromosome deletion, and then people's brains kind of go to, "Oh, I don't know what that is," and then they're Googling it or whatever. But no, you're right. So that could have been somewhat of a strategy, I guess. And Women's Warrior says that her nephew was diagnosed with autism first and then the chromosome deletion.
Because a lot of things, there's all kinds of conditions, that you still have a lot of the same attributes. That's why they say a blanket diagnosis and they turned it into this huge spectrum. And you meet one child with autism, you've only met one. So just because somebody didn't get the diagnosis yet, sometimes they've had more therapy and more help for whatever it is that they need than even when you have the diagnosis. Because they
Right.
cross over, And that was just something that I thought was interesting because Seth talked about it a lot, and how much he did try to get all of this for him and having him in his little school when he was a baby and, the therapies but I also understand, from Seth why he wanted him to get different help because I also believe that ABA can be helpful for different reasons, different, at all ages, and I think that would have been fantastic because once you do understand, but at the same point, if they weren't, it's like, I don't know, because I don't know them well enough, I guess, to understand why.
Well, and you're right though, because the therapies are the big ones, right? The therapies are huge, and they're really, I mean, there's no medication that somebody can say, okay, here's, this pill for autism. There really isn't anything like that. They more so work on therapies. Um,
Well, for
which,
example, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead, mom, and go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, for example, like when you have, whether it's Down syndrome or whether it's a type of autism, if you're getting ABA therapy, your treatment plan for that, behavioral analysis isn't going to differentiate just because you have autism or Down. So I think a lot of times people don't realize that these therapies are still used for whatever it is specifically, you know?
Right. Yeah, and I mean that's a big one to remember too. Um, I mean, it's just so complex, and then like you said, just individually, I mean, getting to know somebody's mannerisms, but I think it's important because they're wanting us to believe that Sebastian was doing all kinds of things outside of his character, and for a child on the spectrum, in your experience, how unlikely would that be? I mean, that you would just all of a sudden one day on, this random Sunday, even if they're overstimulated, would they come out of their behavior that much?
No,
I
there's
just
got
don't,
to be like
I
a
don't see it.
fright situation to make something like all of us, whether you have autism or you're a teenager or, because we saw the footage of Texas Roadhouse. I'm not a doctor, but he wasn't even stimming that much or, he just looked defeated. I mean, I can't watch it without getting emotional. I just can't. When I see him shake his head no, once you see these certain things and his facial expressions, and it just breaks my heart, because I don't know what was going on at that moment, but I'm not seeing all of what everybody said, like, that he can't. I just don't see the signs of it. But I'm not a doctor, but I mean,
Yeah.
even
Well,
like, rubbing his hands or his foot up and down, like there's not a lot of, you know, behavioral signs or sensory overload or
Yeah, I think the only thing that I could notice that might have been was his fingers and his ears, but that music outside the Texas Roadhouse is loud. Like we were parked over towards the Fairfield Inn, and I could hear it while we were sitting in the car. Once Jen turned the car off, it was like you could hear the music playing. And I was trying not to get copyright striked, but I was like I wanted to, like people to hear how loud it was from where we were parked. It was pretty loud. So,
Oh, I agree. And the only thing that I was thinking is just like from when we go in and stuff, to me, I just felt like he had his ears plugged. And maybe it was because he was getting prepared, because it was loud. But then when he took them out, it was before he's inside, and then we didn't see him do it again inside, and inside is super loud.
inside super loud. That is a great point.
We haven't made it a whole dinner yet with my daughter, even with the headphones. She just can't. At this, we're getting there, but I don't know. That was just my instinct, and I could be 100% wrong. But I just felt like he had his ears plugged from something else, maybe somebody yelling on a conversation, or like when he got out, and then once he knew it was over, I don't know. But I
It
could
was
be
more.
totally wrong.
No, I know what you're saying. It was more to do with like Katie or whatever was happening in the car than it was the music outside. Because you're right, he doesn't do that when they get in the restaurant, and it is super loud in there. Like it's a party, like the music is loud. You know.
Mhm.
Joe says it's loud and awful music, he said.
It is super loud in there.
It's really loud and country themed music, so you got to be a fan of country. And I don't know, I guess we know a little bit about Sebastian's taste in music, and he did seem to like country. I know Seth does, from what he was playing outside. you know
Yeah.
yeah, that's what we were saying too, Faye, is that they're very similar. The symptomology is overlapping, and we see them in both. um And I mean, he was so well behaved at the Texas Roadhouse, Shadow. He just was. He was so well behaved. And he also, went to the bathroom with no trouble. He went by himself, and yeah, he didn't need assistance. And and I'm wondering that too, Shadow, now that we're kind of going over that little piece there. um, I do wonder if Katie was yelling at him, or maybe Chris was on speakerphone or something, or, you know, something like that.
Yeah, because it's not like a light switch. You can't turn it on and off, like obviously, like like with anything, some of us, take anger management classes. And so you would think that he would learn, like we all do, to find ways to cope, with stimming or with being overwhelmed, but it's just, he didn't seem to have all of that. Like and I'm not saying he didn't, I'm sure we all have our things. I think we all fall on the spectrum in some way, to be honest. But I just would think that if it's as profound as they tried to make it out to be, then I didn't see that. I saw a child that looked, I can't even put into words. It's not what I got from that video.
No, and I mean, I
It was
just was
dangerous.
wondering. I mean, I was just wondering what you thought, because I mean, it's of course it's not going to be the same across the board, but I would think there would be some. The behaviors is really the focus, because typically people don't go out of their character unless something is up, right? Like maybe you might act out of character if you're upset about something, but for children on the spectrum, it's like their routine overrides like anything that could be happening, I think.
Yeah, you can't help it. You can learn ways to manage, right? And cope, but it's like if it was causing that level, like they say it is, then you would think that by dinner time, you can't just turn it on and off like a light switch, right? Like, especially when you think about, like, emotions, and just, to me, it's like something's just, that's why I just pray that whatever the answers are, that, God just moves mountains for the truth to come out so that he can, have justice, or, I don't like saying it, but, laid to rest, whatever, because we know that it doesn't add up. None of this makes
Well,
sense.
it doesn't make sense at all.
No.
It just really doesn't. It doesn't make a darn bit of sense. Just any of it. Hey, Brenda Calvert, thanks for the green hearts. Well, and yeah, the dysregulation. So hurry back, Robini. But yeah, I mean, and he was walking on his tiptoes. That is also true. And he could have been plugging up his ears because there were things he didn't want to hear. Yeah. I agree with that too. And Miss Ann, please have a good night. Get a good night's sleep for your doctor's appointment.
Hi, KJ. And hi, Trishy, and everyone. Well, one of the things that, really gets me now is that people are constantly like, oh, you guys are, you're always talking bad and you have no evidence, and da, 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 da. And I'm like, it's not about that. It's about, there is a teenager that is missing. I would want the same for me if I was missing, or anybody I loved, or, it's not like that. It's just, what do you expect people to do and say at this point? That's what
Well,
the public always does. And if you didn't want that to happen, you would have the same energy across the board from the beginning. You wouldn't have ran onto YouTube. You wouldn't have buddied up with certain people that came out using almost rage bait. And it's like, all that's okay. But then when we talk about things in a more statistical way, right? In a way, or we start going into different things, it's immediately shut down. You're horrible. You're blaming parents, da, 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 da. And it's like, okay, no, not at all. Not at all. But that's how come we know of you. I wouldn't know who you are if you didn't have a missing teen and presented all of this to us the way that you guys have.
right.
Personal. But
Well,
maybe
and I think
it's
the way it's been presented has been pretty out of the norm. I mean, I've never seen anything like it before, in terms of parents acting this way. I understand that YouTube is a little different. People feel more comfortable on here. I mean, even as we speak right now, Sabrina Host is having a fit in my comment section. Miss living her best life in Lansing, Michigan.
on my end for some reason.
Oh, what's that? I'm sorry, Mom, and what's that?
Can you see me? Are we both buffering?
I can. Oh, we might be buffering a little bit, because I think I buffered a little bit there. I saw.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, good. Yeah, I can still see your avatar.
I was sneaking a puff of my fake electric fuse.
I know, that's me. I have my little tobacco thing here. My pipe. But I don't usually smoke on camera, but I thought it'd be funny to do that tonight. Rosebud has a good point here. I've been a caregiver for over 20 years. We have apples and oranges here, Ari the spectrum. I am all hands on mom when one has to be using the bathroom in public. We all use it. Never allow them alone. That's a good point. That's a very good point, Rosebud. You just never know what could happen, especially when somebody's like nonverbal too. That's got to be so scary.
Well, it's hard.
And good morning, Mama. Cece. Joe changes it up on us every now and then.
Hi, Joe.
Brenda says, I've been most surprised by the news media not telling half truths, only telling half truths, and not talking about CPS reports or the 3 a.m. car and the lights. I'm taken back by that too. What do you think about that, Mom? And it's weird, I think, that they're not, being truthful.
I've always had a hard time, because I'm like, okay, it could be this, it could be that. Sometimes I've thought, what if a lot of that was all reenactment? Because I remember very early on, people were out reenacting before the YouTube tours, and then I think sometimes, it could be because they're building cases, and I don't know. But then honestly, it does concern me now that I live here, that.
Yeah. Well, the police are so adamant about it not being anything either, and they've tried to pass it off as a trash truck, and they've tried to pass it off on, as different lights in the distance. And it's like, okay, but headlights typically go together. So, I'm still up in the air about it too, but I think that it makes the most sense considering we don't have anything else. There's just no way that there's no proof of Sebastian leaving when he clearly left the house. I'm not saying that I believe that he left the house. I don't think he did personally leave the house on his own. I think someone took him out of there, helped with the process. Otherwise we would have, watched that unfold and everything. So,
No, I definitely don't think he left without shoes, with just a flashlight. No way.
No, I think we would have seen him in the area. Thanks for being here, Rosebud. I appreciate you.
Hi, Rosebud.
But yeah, and Brenda Calvert says, but the CPS reports are a fact and the lights video are a fact and the news won't talk about it. And, the news is what brought us the lights to begin with, Nick Barris. And then all of a sudden Nick Barris is like backtracking, significantly backtracking. It's not just like, oh, it's a little bit not true, or, it's crazy.
Well, that's the whole thing that I always, speculated upon was, well, maybe it's because, it is a reenactment, some of it has been heavily manipulated, or maybe it's not, but it's hard because they use such specific wording, right? Whoops, almost knocked Earl over again. They use such specific wording and stuff. So it's like, okay, they're not saying they're not saying that he didn't leave the house. They're saying they didn't, they couldn't see 100%. And if I recall, Seth was saying that it was very hard to even make out the garbage when he took out the garbage, right? That's why I always thought there could be a third party, because in the beginning, if it wasn't for Seth telling us, we wouldn't have known that he could even use his cell phone. And then I think it was April or May, when, Chris came, when he came back out, the stepdad doing his talking again, all of a sudden he's like, well, I kept taking his phone away for doing things he shouldn't have done. I think he said he took it away a few times, and it was his mom and dad that were saying you should give it back. And it's like, okay, well, why did you tell us that he didn't use it and he couldn't do anything on it? And you're guilting his father into trying to let him be a teenager because they're going to go behind our back. And then that's really, really dangerous, because this is 2025. This is the world we're in. There's free internet. Kids give each other their old iPads and stuff on the school bus in darn second and third grade these days.
Yes.
I was always like, could it be there's a third party and they don't want to scare everybody? I don't know. But I think that Katie knows a lot more for sure. That's just my feeling. I just think that
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Katie has to know. I mean, like I said, now if there was an open window or something had been tampered with, or like I said, there was some mysterious shadows, because it is hard to tell in the neighborhood, then I could see that, I could see that being more of a probability. But it's just so strange that no cameras picked him up, and then nothing was, the house was all locked up tight, nothing was tampered with. If something had been tampered with, I can see that.
but then you eliminate everything that would go along with what you're saying. So when we talk about, not you, but I'm saying the stepdad, right? Every time that you're like, okay, well, he couldn't have done this, and a camera this and a that, and we would have heard him if he would have fell in a bush. And so you want us to really think he just vanished, and just no, it doesn't go together. You should be asking these questions times 1,000.
The math isn't mathing, it just isn't coming together like it should. If it was true, it would come together and make sense, and we've just not seen that at all. Like, nothing makes sense. Sebastian leaving without any shoes is a big one, because it's out of his character. And then with it being chilly that night, and I know people were like, well, it wasn't freezing cold, but it was still chilly. I mean, it was still cold that night.
And the fabrications that came out, why would you fabricate anything in the beginning, saying all this stuff about taking, lie detectors, whether or not, they're submittable in court, whether you can, fake it, or, there was a lot of stuff that was said, like is a couple times even flat out saying, all that matters is Chris, Katie, and, he said, Seth, Katie, and I, we know the truth. Like, well, then tell us, sir. You might want to go tell, your friends what it is, because he's still missing and there's still an Amber Alert. And so I just go based off of what has been said, right? I mean, what else can you do?
Well, and that's true. An Amber Alert is for abductions, and there's also a reward out for Sebastian. So, I mean, typically they don't do that for a missing. They don't do that for a runaway. They would do it for an abduction, or if they thought foul play was involved. So obviously the FBI thinks that foul play was involved and that Sebastian didn't run away. And I think it's important to recognize that these other, law enforcement entities might not be in agreement about what happened.
And I think, was it Crazy Bird? Like, they said they can lie to us and they will lie to us, especially if there's, so we can't really take to heart anything that's been said, right? From the
Here it is. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's true. Remember, police can lie to us, so disregard anything they have said on any news broadcasts.
And Trishi said, theoretically speaking, the lights seem to be real, and Ellie just didn't want it to get out to the public. I could see that, especially if there was third-party involvement in some way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Well, because if that's the only bit of information that they have, they probably never wanted us to ever know about that. In terms, because that could be like a slip up that they have, and then that could be their gotcha moment. It is process of elimination, Trishy. I believe that too. Yeah. seems like LE suspects a third party, and that party is known to Sebastian based on all that has been done or not done so far on the part of LE. Yeah. I think we can kind of deduct some of that too. Absolutely. I mean, we'd be silly not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that they do have some suspects in mind. Yeah, or people, persons of interest. Yeah. It was Justin. So Justin got an email back that he showed. So imagine that, somebody showing their email that they got from law enforcement, right? Because receipts didn't happen, and it did show that Brandon Carter said he was the investigator on Sebastian's case, and that he was actively working it every day, and that it was a criminal or it is a criminal investigation.
I never got hung up on it either way, to be honest, because it's an investigation anyway, with a $50,000 reward. And I don't think the police, TBI, FBI, or any agency investigates anything that's not a crime. You know?
No.
Like
No.
what that's their duty. That's what they are. So it's kind of like, I know so many people get hung up on it today, and they get annoyed with me because I'm just like, but that's what they do. So do we really have to be told? It just, to me, it's like, isn't that blatantly obvious?
Exactly. Well, and Chris going around telling everybody that he was cleared in the beginning. I mean, he went from, interview to interview to interview, telling everybody we've been cleared, we've been cooperating, blah, blah, blah. But then at the end of the day, they were never cleared. Nobody to this day is cleared. Even Seth isn't cleared. But they continuously put out there, we're cleared, we're cleared, we're cleared, which is like, no, you're not even close, right? Unfortunately, no one has been cleared. I wish they would clear somebody, but I mean, I think that would be letting the cat out of the bag also. Like, I don't think that they're going to do that either.
Well, maybe, I mean, in the beginning, maybe they could have, but I feel like just because of where we are today and people's actions speak way louder than anything. And when you're acting and doing things for a long time, that is completely opposite of what anyone else has ever acted like or behaved like, they're going to use that. And maybe they wouldn't have been, maybe they could have cleared people a while ago if certain things weren't the way that they are.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, and Joseph has a good point here too. I don't think they needed to lie to us for this one, because Craddock doing the scan survey in the backyard says everything. So the Faro technology that they used to preserve a crime scene is what that's for. I mean, that is specifically used to preserve a crime scene so they can look at it later on the virtual reality. So that's a great point, Joe. I mean, and that I think that his one clear statement of his viewpoint. Yeah, I agree. That happened on his say so for sure. Yeah. But then they clear the green hoodie after one conversation, Brenda. That's a good point too. I mean, what do you make of that, Mom, and how they did that with green hoodie? I mean, nothing to see here, but oh boy.
Well, we're not in a court to hear a trial of everything. So I could think that they're just telling us that, but that could be completely not true. If it's still active and it's still really active, we don't have answers. There's no arrest and he's not home. There's no explanation. Then anything they say to us, I don't believe. I take with a grain of salt, but I'm not investigating the case, so it doesn't matter as long as we know they're doing it, right?
Yes.
So it's like they could be saying that just to make somebody feel good. Because I do remember on the same panel that I was, smeared all over the place. when I got deemed the psycho, he said that they called Katie.
Oh, right. Yes. Well,
To
there you
ask about
go.
it. So maybe they were trying to make somebody feel like everything was okay. Who knows?
Yeah, true. Well, and they did get cockier and more bold after all of that too. They did. No doubt about it. They just did. Um, which I find to be interesting, to say the least. I mean, because typically when somebody does have criminal involvement, they want everybody to think that they don't. I mean, I guess either way you could say that, but
Well, what I always wonder too is like, even if, say that really isn't anything that's relevant or whatever, because it's something explainable for something else. And maybe it's not directly relative to what happened, but it doesn't mean that there's not somebody else that might have been there that they're looking at, or that is, or, I don't know. I thought by now, if there is something, we would have answers, but I also know it could take time. Um, but then when you see a lot of the stuff that happens, you get worried and you hope that nobody's being a cog in the wheel.
yeah, well, and I mean, I think that if it wasn't down to three parents, I think that they may tell the public a little bit more, but I think with this case being so high profile and so much speculation, I think that they're trying to keep it all close to the vest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's just my
Yeah.
no. Yeah, they don't like us speculating. That's for sure. They do not like us speculating at all. They just
But they,
don't.
that's what's the weirdest thing. Like the stuff that I heard come out of their mouth in some of these channels, and just it's just ridiculous. I mean, that in itself is, in my opinion, it's like you're making yourself look even more suspicious because you highlight just average things, but you're going to sit over there. And
Yeah.
it's not even, like I said, it's not even against the creator. The creator isn't the one that's missing the child. I'm just saying, like, you're the one missing a child, a whole teenager.
Yeah, a whole how do you lose a whole teenager? I mean, excuse me. That's a good point. Seth did have to approach the FBI for a polygraph. Yeah. Well, and that in and of itself, I think a lot of that has to do with their location, and that's why I'm thinking that with their location being what it was, that's kind of why I've been operating under the assumption that both Chris and Seth were where they said they were.
Yeah. But that's the thing. They could be where they said they were, but it doesn't mean they weren't involved third party, or, things like that, because that's what I think a lot of people, assume. It's like, well, you could be somewhere else, but it doesn't mean that you didn't have something to do with something else that happened. And that's why with like Seth, I mean, I understood. I think people were explaining that he wanted to be cleared just so that way that he could utilize more resources that won't work with you unless you're cleared. So in that aspect, I understood why. But at the same point, it was like, if it's going to make anything more complicated, then don't give a crap if you're cleared or not. Don't fall for the psychological trickery, because that's all I see is always coming, is like to manipulate him, and it's not a good thing, just go with your gut and, fight for the answers, right? Like, who cares? Let them do their suspect. The truth will prevail. And in my opinion, even if there's some, and I know there's probably not, But even if there was something, just from what I see, he would be the least responsible then, even if there was something that he was aware of. Because that's just what I feel, who am I? But that's what I feel.
Well, exactly. And, I mean, it's, hey, Casey Blues. Um, I think there's a lot to be said about just their overall attitudes, right? I'm gonna reposition myself, guys. I've been sitting in the same spot for a while. I just gotta move around a little bit. Excuse me. But yeah, my humble opinion, right? Because again, I'm not an expert or anything. I just think that them getting upset, them getting mad at creators, like what Chuchi is saying here, it's like they're just they're not acting like people who want the public's help in finding their son. You would think, because I always remember that statement or that saying, beggars can't be choosers. And I'm not saying that they're beggars, but if you want your son's information out there, then you have to be open for everybody to be covering it, because it's a public case. So there's going to be things that you don't like, right, that people are saying. I mean, it's just like us as creators, Mom. And there's some people that like what we do. There's some people that don't, you know, and it's
Well, that
always
was the
going to be
whole
like
thing.
that,
That
you
when I
know?
talk to a lot of local people, right? The stuff that they highlight to me is like the stuff that I always was thinking in the beginning, right? It's like, why don't we hear this from them? We never heard anything. Like, you would think they wouldn't be against certain things, especially the distractions, right? Let alone ever another kid. You would not,
Right.
you would think that you would be against. Why not? Like, okay, for example, everybody talks about the neighborhood post and stuff where there was that guy that got seen hiding behind a tree in a gray t-shirt. I can
Mhm.
send it to you, but I'm sure you remember it. It was in the Ring neighborhood at, I think it was like 6:30-ish at night. That is something people talk about. They never talk about that. They never talked about, the whole thing with the different people in the woods. We know that situation.
Mhm.
They never talk about how Katie stopped by that person's house. According to them, they posted all that on Facebook. Nebel or something was the name.
Yes. Yes.
All these things that you think if your child allegedly just left and walked out the door, that you're going to be asking, what did the person look like? Where did they go? Did anybody else see them? Stuff like all these other things. And it's, to me, a lot of why a lot of us, I feel here, always wondered if he didn't make it home, is because it's almost like dinner and then that's it. There's
Right.
nothing else filled in. There's nothing after that, like, well, there was this person seen in the neighborhood, or there was this that happened, or, we got ready, for bed and he changed to his pajamas, or it's
None
just,
of that had a good flow to it either, Mom, and you're right. None of that had a good kind of, it's like there was a lot of lapses in time. It's not like, hey, we came home and we got ready for bed. Sebastian took his shower. We were getting things together. I signed a slip for school that, was in the backpack that wasn't told to me on Friday. I'm just going back to when my daughter was little. I'm remembering, like, oh crap, we have to sign this. We have to do this, the typical Sunday night stuff, it just wasn't like that. There was no flow of an evening. It was just, we got home. I told him to go to bed, and he did. He was, even going back, she said her first original story was he was in his bedroom playing, and then I told him to go to bed. He did. He said, "Good night, mama. Good night, puppies." And that was the original story.
Yeah, that was the one original story that they told all of us, but where was all the, what did you guys talk about on the way home? Like, I would remember every single detail, in my opinion, because that's the last memory you have. If you can remember certain things, but you can't remember, it doesn't make sense. Like if you think
Right.
back on certain events in your life, right? So, where are all of these things?
Exactly. Mom, and I'm gonna text you a number before Trishy leaves because I know there's a lot of people I know are late night. Um, but I wanted to do the drawing really quick, so we'll just do a pick a number 1 through 70 since there's like about 60 people in here, and I just sent Mom in the number. But I want
Oh,
everybody to be able to participate that's in here.
good one.
So guys, just drop whatever number in the chat, and whoever gets it first will win the Pigfest prize pack. I guess we'll call it. You'll get some peanuts from um, the Texas Roadhouse and some swag from Pigfest, and then I also have the bag back there, the Cruella bag, that will put it all in there. So. Um, and thank you all so much for donating and helping me get to Pigfest. Watching you guys just mean everything. And I know Maman feels that way too, just with her channel. We have a really great true crime community. We really do. Lots of people who care. So um, nobody's got it yet. Maman, because I texted you the
Yes,
number.
I got
And people come
it.
out of the bushes. Come out of the bushes. There we go, Detroit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know a lot of
Guys.
people agree with everything we're saying. I do. They don't have to admit it.
Oh no, 1 through 70. Sorry, Chuchi, 1 through 70. You got to guess again.
So tell us a little more about, well, whatever you want to elaborate on with Pigfest. Because we haven't
Well,
gotten to catch up. Everything's been so busy for both of us.
it was interesting. It was interesting because, you know, we thought that Sebastian, wasn't supposed to be at the Pig Fest, or that they didn't want us passing out flyers, which I know, even you were telling me that you knew someone personally that couldn't get a booth or whatever there, which is
Yeah.
interesting to me. So I don't know what to think about that because, I mean, it's kind of back and forth, but I do know that the hate channels took it upon themselves to make sure, and, mainly Clue, um, to make sure that people were thinking that they didn't want Sebastian there because of money or whatever. Whatever the reason was. But that just simply wasn't true. And like so many people do know about Sebastian. Um, so they just don't. Or excuse me, they just do know about him, and they were wanting everybody to think that they don't. So that was kind of disheartening to me, but I also realized that they were turning down other people, but they were also allowing for Clue to enter in, which was weird to me. you know um
Well, when the
oh,
cut,
Tranquility. Tranquility got it. Oh, that's awesome, Tranquility. Okay, so just email me and I will get it out in the mail to you. Very good. Yay. All right, guys. So
yeah, I
that
know.
was fun.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah,
I know my
congratulations.
experience has been
Okay.
different. Like I've run into a lot of people that didn't know or they thought he was found. And then the cutoff date to get a tape, because I know, I'm not going to say who it is, but I know somebody that has been doing that since they started. It was I think it was like the 11th person or 12th person that got added. And there was somebody else that wanted to add a booth and it was done. So you couldn't. But then the sponsorships, apparently people have no problem after a cutoff date, which I thought was really bizarre. That's very interesting because I would think that, um, you know, if you're doing things for kids, no offense to that person, but when you go click on what the content was, it's not exactly something that you would want to turn on with your kids. And
Oh
that's
boy, no.
right.
You know, and I'm like, I understand like the shock jock stuff, you know, like when somebody's just doing something for shock value, you know. I used to like to listen to a guy called Mancow's Morning Madhouse, right? And he was like, he would do all kinds of silly stuff. He was kind of like a Howard Stern, you know, where he would just like prank call people. And, you know, it was a morning show, but it was just funny to listen to him. And he was like off color and he did say a lot of crap. Um, but it got people listening and all of that. Um, hold on, I'm just going to type in my email. So I get the shock value, but I also think that that goes way too far, like in terms of them saying, oh, well, you guys don't know how money works. And it's like, well, of course we do. And I understand that, but in your community, you should want people to remember. I mean, if it was their child, they would feel like that too. And I had to tell the neighbors that when I was in the neighborhood. I'm like, if it was your son, you would want people out here doing this too.
Well,
And
I would
she did tell me
require
she doesn't like the step fee. She's like, I don't like the step parents anyway. And I'm like, okay, well, that's great. You know. Aw, thanks, Manny. Or thanks, Panny, excuse me, Panny Annie. um but yeah, I just don't know why they would want that person to represent the community. But then I also found out later that they didn't know who she was prior to allowing for it too. So I think that's a, you know, a big one. um so
sorry, I was typing. But yeah, I mean, my whole thing has always been on the flyers only because they can't hurt. They can only help, in my opinion. Like, I don't understand. I never understood why, you know, I never saw them all. Like, I just thought they'd be peppered everywhere, you know? And then
oh
the only
yeah.
thing we saw was a crooked yard sign. And I
Well,
can't understand that, you know, because I'm like, there's tons of new houses that got built in the neighborhood. There's so many people that didn't live there when he went missing. You know, I think there's like 20, what? I have it in I asked Brock for the stats on how many new people are in the area.
oh, that's a good one to ask. See, I never know what to ask Grok or whatever, you know, like I think that's such a good resource, but you know, I'm just not as familiar with it either. So, but that's a good question to ask. What did it say?
It just says a lot of stuff about how it jogs people's memories, and there's a lot of times that there's transient groups like truck drivers and day laborers, you know, that aren't from the area.
Mm.
It says one of the other things was awareness fades over time, even in publicized cases. And flyers act as a persistent reminder, keeping the person's image and details. For example, Sebastian, his last outfit, or the $50,000 reward from the FBI in the public's attention. It says Sumner County Sheriff Eric Craddock has repeatedly urged the public to continue to share Sebastian's official missing persons flyers and don't wait. Nothing, noting it sustains momentum when all the media coverage wanes. I'm trying to see in here where it said how many new people, though. But it just gives you a lot of other reasons that while a lot of us, it's like fresh in our minds and stuff, a lot of people never even hear about it unless they see it.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing too. I mean, it's crazy, like what we all see online. You know, even in Michael Monkey Vaughn's case, I will say, because I remember watching the interviews with his parents and Brandy and Tyler. You know, and I remember watching those. I remember watching the mainstream media coverage on, you know, the monsters as well. but it's like the stuff that was said and done on YouTube was like completely out of this world, in terms of like the in-depth information that we were getting. I mean, let's be honest. I got a phone call as soon as the news broke, like on YouTube, right? And that was the day before it broke in the mainstream media. So, I mean, if you're looking at true crime cases, it would be silly not to look on YouTube. I mean, because there is just people feel so much more comfortable to come here and say things that they normally wouldn't.
Yeah, and I mean, and I agree, but then when I look at the numbers, it's still like, okay, but if there's these many, 3 million people in that 1 hour radius, but we only see the biggest, show that they had get 80,000 views, that still means there's tons of people that never even heard them,
Right.
you know?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. That's it. I mean, and then it's like, for whatever reason, these people feel more comfortable sharing all of this information. It's unbelievable to me. Um,
Like Forever Young, one of my subs just emailed, and like she was saying, one thing too is in the beginning, when everybody right there that did live there might have known about Sebastian missing, how many of them assumed he could have had profound nonverbal type of autism and he was little?
oh,
We
that's
learned
such a
so
good
much in
point.
time. So she's like, without yard signs and flyers or, rallies, whatever, some people might not even have their memory jog that they saw a teen because they didn't even realize he was one.
Well,
Like you
that's
knew his
true.
age, right? We knew that he was 15, but not every child, especially with different conditions, physically may look like 15, right?
Exactly. And I mean, I think that his pictures, like, just if I'm looking, I mean, even this one looks like it could have been right before, but his hair is so much more blonde in this one too. I mean, it's very hard to tell.
Yeah.
It just really is. It's hard to tell. And then even on this one, this is the one that Seth had. This is the one where he's sitting at the table with. It looks like he's eating like tacos. He's got all the fixins in front of him for tacos. Uh, it's just poor kid. I mean, and I just feel bad for Sebastian. I feel like he didn't um, get a fair go. And I complained about the flyers in the beginning, and I made my own flyer because I was so tired of, I mean, all of this back and forth. But I mean, even so, like, I think Sebastian has more hazel eyes because I've seen pictures of him where his eyes were really brown, and then sometimes they look like they were, like a greenish color too. Um, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, and welcome to the Dragon Tribe, guys. I wanted to, I wanted to give you guys a membership since we were doing the giveaway, and I almost forgot to do that. So, um, he is out there somewhere, Mama. I agree. I agree. Somebody knows something. Um, Rob Edie.
Yeah, see, like this is interesting, what she sent me about how also keeping his name out, whether it's online and definitely locally, can also help if anybody has a guilty conscience or guilty knowledge. It's one of the most powerful psychological triggers, seeing the person's face.
Well, and see, and that says a lot, right? It says a lot when they don't want his, you know, flyer out there, maybe because they don't want to have to see. I mean, the same with the billboards. Why they would have the hate campaign with Cluminati. I mean, I would never expect people of their background to be associated with her, period, let alone wanting anything to do with their son's disappearance, you know? Um,
Yeah.
Thank you, Tranquility. I will look out for it too. I haven't gotten it yet. But
Yeah, because one of the things was J.C. Duggard's case. He was abducted in 91, found in 2009. He said that he avoided areas where her posters were because it made them panic. So it said the
mm,
constant visual reminder every time someone would see on the gas station door, church bulletin, or neighbor's yard sign, it reactivates the guilt. The brain can't fully suppress the memory. And then with Elizabeth Smart, her abductor ripped down flyers in public because of the paranoia. This person says, if I saw this kid, what if someone saw me with this kid? Someone might know paranoia. Then it says in 2022, a tipster in a Tennessee child abduction case called police after seeing a flyer at Walmart saying, I couldn't sleep knowing I might have seen him. Flyers often include pleas like Sebastian has autism, he needs his family. Things like this humanize the victim and shame somebody with guilty knowledge. And then, of course, some people are just incentivized by money, but it's interesting to hear the cases, you know, like Elizabeth Smart and stuff. So thank you for sending me that.
yeah, absolutely. And I think it's very important to remember, um, these other cases and to kind of compare them, even though, no two cases are going to be exactly alike, but a lot of the elements exist within them. And, the one really strong point for me with Elizabeth Smart is that, her mom had accidentally left the window open because she had burned the potatoes for dinner. And so that she was letting some of the, smell out of the house, and she opened the window up. Well, that's how her abductor was able to get into the house, unfortunately, um, was by cutting the screen and then letting himself in through the window. But we just don't have that element with Sebastian's case. We definitely have the mysterious nighttime, um, but yeah.
Well, yeah, and there's nothing that shows that, that he wouldn't, yell and everything. He wasn't tiny, it's not like somebody could easily just take him, but you never know what could be, because we've heard so much too about, cameras being jammed and, you
Mm,
know, so could he have left with somebody willingly under duress? I don't know, coerced, unconscious, we don't know. We have no clue, right? So
I
that's why
know.
the only thing that I know that I can do at all is get his picture out there. That's the only thing I could think of that can help for me.
Yeah, and I definitely think that's the biggest thing that we all can do, especially just with, our modern technology on our phones, is like send it to 10 people, send Sebastian's flyer to 10 people. And, just the way that you've done that with wearing it, even wearing the bag. I mean, and I will say that, we were on the way over to the store today because I forgot to get a little pipe for the costume. And Nate's like, oh, you're wearing a bag of Sebastian too, and I said, yeah, he said, well, I really hope if I ever go missing that people do that for me. And I mean, that's what it really comes down to, right? Is that, awareness is the biggest thing that we can do.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And
And
in, and then in Katie's words, she says, that Sebastian could be anywhere. So
just shocking.
yeah, it is. It is. Oh,
And
let me check Tranquility. Give me 1 second. Let me see. Get it yet? Tranquility. That's weird. Usually they should come through. And I'm sorry, guys. I haven't been checking my email. Aw, thanks, Chuchi. And guys, Chuchi, her husband drew a beautiful picture of Sebastian. I need to get it in a video. Yeah, I was just so excited to see that. And maybe because I'm live. Sometimes that happens when I'm live too. I don't get the emails right away.
My internet's been weird. I'll be right back, sweetie. I'm just gonna go check on the baby really quickly because he's laughing, and I want to make sure he didn't get up and escape, and then he's just having dream giggles because now he's walking. So we need to make sure he didn't get out of his room. 1 second. Sometimes he laughs in his sleep, you know. He dreams and he sleep laughs.
Aw, that's cute though. The littles are so cute when they do that, or they smile in their sleep. Katie, don't cook. She is feeding Sebastian. Yeah, in my opinion, yeah, her house was smelling bleach Monday morning, allegedly. I heard that too. Yes, that's why I found that little background with the bleach on it, and I was like, oh, this is right up their alley, you know. Women's Warrior says, just quickly, I think Amazon could display missing posters at checkout at different one every week or so. I think that's a really good point, Women's Warrior, is we need to get more awareness out in that way. I think that would be a great idea. I don't know how we would initiate it, but I know that we were taking a look back on Michael Monkey Vaughn's case, and you know, it was so interesting how they had the truckers putting Michael's missing posters on the trucks. I think that is huge, right? So, oh, great, Tranquility. Let me take a look. So, I mean, I think all of those steps are necessary in order to, you know, spread greater awareness. It's just very important. Oh, okay. Let's see. No, I don't see it. It still didn't come through, Tranquility. Dang. And I don't want you to put your email in here, just in case we have some watchers that are not so kind. Yeah, I think so. I think you would have had a breakdown too, Faye. I do too. You know, just stepping out, right, is sensory issue. I think Walmart and Amazon should have a missing wall. Well, you know, they do. That's a good idea through their app. I know they do, like if you go into a Walmart, because I even had I even had them put it up in the break room because they said they have certain ones that they're sent over. I know Walmarts do it different, depending on where you're at. But they were like, oh, you know, they're pre-selected or something, and I was like, well, will you still take this flyer and put it up in the break room? And they're like, oh yeah, we can do that. So, that would be wonderful, Chuchi. I know Jessica would just love that. I'm still waiting to see what's all going down in the comments. Oh boy.
Oh, you gotta love daylight savings time. It's like messing everything up, I think.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, it is. It is, Mom, and it is. I know. I'm about to have to take my hat off here, but I don't know, Mom. And what else do you think? What other topics did you want to discuss tonight?
I don't know. I was wondering, like, what does the chat think? Like, what do you guys think about, ways to help when we're discussing these cases? Like, is there certain things that you think that we can do or?
I think that's a great question. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do in terms of awareness. Well, especially with you being local, I'm just so grateful to have somebody who's local who cares. I mean, we know there's a lot of people out there.
Oh yeah, there
Um,
really is. I've met some amazing people here. There's good and bad everywhere in the world, right?
oh yeah, definitely. Well, it's about time she got stirred up there, Tucci, because I mean, she doesn't want to talk, you know, and she was there with Devlin, you know. And and that's one thing. I will always give people an opportunity to come up on the panel. I just don't want, everybody coming up here fighting, because we all know that that doesn't, that might bring clicks and views for the channel, but that doesn't help the family.
No.
What do you think about that, Mom? And when people just go off on each other, I mean, on the panel, you know?
Well, I can't imagine being in the situation and how you're supposed to handle it.
Well, and I don't think anybody knows how to handle it in perfect way. I don't think there is any perfect way. Um, in theory, we shouldn't probably have missing people, right? I mean, unless somebody gets lost, or something of that nature. But it's just, when there's so much abuse that's present, and then we have a missing child, it's tough, right? It's tough to not look at that abuse and consider it, at least.
Everybody always is going to speculate when somebody goes missing. That's how it's always been.
Yeah.
And but the thing is that if people are going to run online and they're going to, there's not really anything you can do to stop it either, right? So it's one of those things that's like, well, could you help mediate better? Or do you not want to even put yourself in that situation, right?
Right. Well, and that's the thing, like, I don't mind mediating at all. As a matter of fact, I was really happy with the way that things were going, um during the first live that I did with Jessica, and Matt was in the chat. Um, but it just kind of, my hopes kind of got dashed when I came into the chat early one day, and he was in here talking and trying to field questions about Jessica, and it was weird.
I was here once and I remember I was reading the chat. And I never, a lot of times I don't get a chance to say anything because if I'm doing a bunch of stuff with the kids and stuff, then I don't want people to think I'm rude and not talking to them, but I'll be listening. And I remember that it's just, really bizarre, very bizarre.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I like doing that too sometimes, because I will go in and just be listening, while I'm like cooking or cleaning up or doing something, or if I go down to the pool, I'll have my earbud in or something like that. But, it's tough because, you don't want to say hi in the chat, and then if somebody sees you in there and then they think you're ignoring them if you're not looking, so if I can chat, I will. Or if something sparks my interest, like there was a couple of things yesterday with in Justin's where I was like, hey guys, I'm just in the bushes, but I have to say this, so I know Detroit. See, the thing is that we were talking about this earlier. I know, that rich guy, and I don't want to put Ruby into it because I keep putting her in there, and I don't want to do that to a dog because, dogs don't, they're not, the owners are bad, not them. But yeah, that guy is such a fraud, and I don't know if he's been working on that lights video or what he's been doing, but I'm sure whatever it is, he's probably doctored the photo, in my opinion. So I don't give him any views or anything. I gave him enough of my time, and I had to personally look up and find out who he is and everything because of some horrific things that he said about Sebastian's case, and some of the inappropriate things that he said to me. Um, that guy is not to be trusted. I've been telling people, just because I don't want to see anybody get hurt, or send him, money or help his channel. He's one of Dolly's people. He's a call-in from Dolly and PJ. They're in, cahoots or whatever. Like, I don't know, Mom, and I sound like I'm crazy, but in the same way, I've had to actually look that guy up, and he is not anywhere near who he says he is. He also told me that Sebastian was found in a landfill back in December, and that wasn't true.
Yeah, I see. I've never really watched anybody besides if the parents were on an interview or so there's a lot of these channels that I just don't even watch. And I just feel like I kind of don't even need to because I live here. So I just talk to people anyway, you know?
Yeah, well, and you know how it is too, Mom. And I mean, I was very naive when I first started. Like, I didn't realize, like, how everybody is. They're not. There's a lot of people on YouTube that are not trying to help each other. They're trying to help themselves. And so I don't know whether that was something, where they're like, I don't know what his deal was, why he wanted to try and work with me, but I mean, I don't know if he thought I was stupid is what what it came down to, is he thought I was stupid, and then he was going to send me a picture of a landfill that was already a day old and say that he got it from somebody in the FBI field office. Like, he's a piece of crap. I'm sorry, he is. And and then when he wants to go around and say that he has insider information, or that he's going to help the father of a little girl who was killed and her cousin, and he knows exactly who I'm talking about.
Oh my gosh. Hang on 1 second. Haley just got up.
No worries, Maman. But yeah, that's what it comes down to, is he's saying that he's going to get satellite images for this family, this dad who used to take care of the girls, Elizabeth and Lyric, and they just, yeah, Mama. And I mean, I hate to tell people who to watch or anything like that, because I get it. I mean, people have everybody has something to bring to the table, but he's just such a fraud. You know? No, I didn't get anything yet, Tranquility. Dang, I don't know why it's usually I mean, I could get emails on the live, and I'm looking on my computer too. Will you send me a Facebook message? Are you on Facebook, Tranquility? I know. I try to stay away from them too, but they find me, Detroit. I'm like, I don't know why you thought that I was going to be somebody that can't reverse look up an image. Oh, great, great. Will you just send one friend request to my Lady Freedom page? Yeah, Bo. I mean, I hate to, because like I said, if somebody really thinks like that their theory is one thing, I'm not going to call him a fraud, but the yeah, what he tried to pull last December. You don't care about a missing child when you do that. And then I find out what he did to the other family, you know, and he promised that dad that he was going to get him those satellite images, and he didn't. That's why when I found out that he was creeping around on Sebastian's case again, I made it a point to tell Seth. Because unfortunately, he could tell Seth that he was doing all this stuff. And lately he said that he was in Tennessee. And I know damn well he's not in Tennessee. He's out in Texas. And you could tell by the foliage in the area. He's only fooling people who aren't paying attention. You know, there might be people that are listening to him instead of watching. You know, oh yeah, there's no apostrophe. Yeah, exactly. There's no apostrophe. Yeah, because I can't put that in the email. It should be under Trisha. Here, I'll put it in the chat. But you should see Sebastian's picture right on there. So, but yeah, the last live and I don't take down my lives or anything, guys. I've only had to take down one live, and that was because Forever Nikki's mom struck my channel when she asked me to make a tribute video for her daughter. That was her and Terry Lynn that did that too to me. And, you know, I mean, it's just anytime people think that you're doing good, they're going to try to take you out. And in this case, they've really been pretty nasty about it. And I've dealt with a lot. And I almost decided to just say, you know, forget it, and I'm not going to do YouTube anymore. But I didn't want to let them win. And I'm glad I didn't, because I love everybody that's here today. Everybody that's here today, most of you guys have been through it with me, right? Like, you guys have been here from the beginning, and you saw everything that they've done. And I've been very transparent and shown receipts. Hey, Nero V. You know, and so, you know, I'm willing to do that. I don't like to be the one to be like, well, here's some text messages that somebody sent me. I mean, to me, that's boring, you know. Thank you, KJ Mack. I'm glad I did, because I was ready to just, especially after all that crap that they did to me. I was like, what am I doing this for? I'm not even getting paid well enough to do this. Like, I'm not even getting paid at all barely to do it. You know, but it definitely weeded out a lot of people. Like, I used to get hate views, right? And how you know that they're hate views is that your thumbs ups are nowhere near as the amount of views you're getting, right? And so you kind of surmise that if when you look at your analytics on the channel and stuff. So but yeah, I kicked Rich and Ruby to the curb well before the stuff with Terry Lynn happened. Well before the white boy stuff happened, right? Because the stuff with Terry Lynn happened, and the white boy stuff happened because they knew where I lived, because I told them that I was moving to Fort Myers. And so they sent the white boy after me with his wife, you know, so I won't, Chi-Chi. I won't. I was close though. Like, there was times where I was like, I don't even want to do this anymore. And like, even people that were supportive of me and that were like, you know, you work really hard. Thanks for all you do. And like, even people that I thought were my friends, they didn't care, you know, about me. They were like, you should probably just stop, and they'll never leave you alone. They're going to keep on doing it. Well, they finally have realized that, you know, unless they want to go to court with me, then they'll leave me alone, you know. And it brought out all the haters too, because like, that's how I know who Elevated Goof really is. Like, that's how I know who that guy is to his core, to his being, right? Because like he can portray himself any way he wants on here, like he's some kind of a, smart guy, and he looks at situations objectively or subjectively. He doesn't, right? He sent white boy almost $200. Well, it was $180 and another $20, so that's $200. After I beat him in court, Hey, Mammon, sorry.
Oh, don't apologize.
Getting into the YouTube drama.
It happens. This is what it is when you have kids. But no, and I know it's frustrating, and people online stink, for all different reasons. You definitely have to have thick skin, but there's lines, there's lines that people cross all the time. And I do think there's a lot of people that don't really know the new laws and stuff either. And, I don't know what's going to happen.
Right. Well, it is the laws, right? Like, it's like you can't just cyber stalk people, but then on top of it, if you come to their house, that's like a whole nother ball game, right? I mean, like, that was the reason why I got the lifetime restraining orders against them.
Oh, yeah. Well, when people are doing stuff like that, you have to do what you can to protect yourself, But online, for me, I just tune them all out. I think you're always going to have people that are going to be nasty and be rude, but I don't think it's okay to go into people's real lives, and the stuff that's gone on. And this whole thing is just, it's backwards and upside down, because if you're supposed to be here for a common goal, you wouldn't think that this would be something that would go on,
Right. I mean, and that's what's weird to me. Like, that's another thing that I was really naive about. Like, I had no idea that like people were fighting against each other so hard, like in the true crime community, like just on YouTube in general. But like, it's not, it's it's a lot of old beefs, that like I was never even anticipating being a part of any of that either, because I could have a disagreement with somebody privately and then not talk to them again and not go after them, or um you know what I mean? Like, I could just go ahead and leave it be and say, okay, we're obviously not going to get along, or we used to be friends but we're not anymore. But like, it's just a whole nother level of
Well, yeah, but it's also,
crazy.
well, that's the thing. Some people are here for different reasons, and they make content, and they aren't here, trying to talk about the cases, right? And if that's what their content is, that's what stinks.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. I want to look. I saw Tranquility's post. Hold on. Um, I don't have my other phone with me right now, but I do have Messenger on this one. Hold on, let me see. Oh no, you know what? Let me see if I could download it back onto this phone. Sorry, I do get rid of some of my apps on my other phone just because. And thank you, Women's Warrior and Chuchi. Thank you guys. I don't usually like to talk about it, but I know that we've been talking about like the threats and stuff like that, and I hate to be like, oh, I was threatened, but I mean, I was. I went through a lot of crap, a lot of crap, but it was worth it because it's for Sebastian, and I know you feel the same way, Mom. And I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
One of the biggest things too, like in the marketing stuff, is that, people they get paid to, they put people out there to pay to get rid of competition and stuff. It's crazy. It's kind of Hollywoodish. Oh my gosh, is that the baby again? That is the baby again.
I hear him. I hear him.
Oh,
Hey, Justice Jane.
I'll be right back. And if you have to end, I understand. Let me go see why.
No worries, Mom, and you're good. You're good. I'm still having technical difficulties because I thought I had Messenger, but it's not wanting to let me download it for some reason. I mean, it should still go to my other phone though. That's why I don't know why it's being so hard on it. But don't worry, Tranquility. We'll figure it out. We will figure it out. Well, money is a big one, Chi Chi, and I think that's one thing that we have to follow in this case is the money. Is the money, because there has to be, well, there just has to be more than one involved in Katie, because I know she holds the key, but it's also a little bit more to it, because there's no way that she could have gotten him out of the house herself if she herself never left the house. So did they pay someone? You know, is there some lowlife somewhere that knows more? You know, and I think that that's a very strong possibility. I really do. Especially if he didn't make it home, which, you know, is a strong possibility. So, it just is. It just is. Let me see too, because I do have a Facebook Messenger on here. Let's see. Okay, just bear with me here. Mm, see, I don't see you in here for friend request. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Hey, Heather, good to see you. It says it didn't go through. That's so weird. Because I'm in my messages. Hold on a second. Let's see. Hold on 1 second, guys. Sorry. See, I'm not finding you. Dang. Usually it just goes right to my it just goes right to my friend requests. Like, did you request a friend request on there? Hold on, let me see. I could send a link to my page. I think. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. Post. No. That's not it. Here we go. I'll just do this. And this should bring you right to my page, I betcha. If I just go to this link. And there we go. I mean, he does kind of look like the Green Hoodie. I'm not gonna lie, Faye. Now that you say that, I'm like, you know.
Okay,
Oh, good. Hey, Maman.
we'll see how long this lasts.
Aw. No
Well,
worries at all.
you know, he's going to be 3 in April. So it's like he's finally able to walk, thank God. And, you know, he can't walk like normal yet, but, you know, I'm sure in time. But so at night now, if he gets up, he just, you know, he wants to go, 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 go.
Yes.
No,
Oh, totally.
I'm sorry. We have to sleep.
Aw. That's so cute though.
But yeah, I'm sorry that you went through so many things. I think for me, it's just, when you're talking about a missing kid or person or an active case and stuff, it's when the people are going on about things, in the cases, like telling you somebody was found or that stuff. I can't understand, like, ethically, like, why people would do that.
It makes no sense. I think a lot of it does have to do with that main character syndrome though. Because we've seen that a lot with people where it's like they just want recognition, but I mean it's just I don't know. Sorry, hold on one second. I'm just accepting. There we go. There we go. Sir, tranquility. Yay. But they do. They're not doing it for the right reasons. If that's what you're looking for, you're probably going to get a lot less pats on the back than you ever thought. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're doing it for that, it's the wrong reason. You're not going to get what you're looking for out of it.
Well, again, it's not true. Like, he wasn't found.
Right. But I do think that like some people have more guilty knowledge. I do. And that's got to be, coming from a place of, where somebody has told you more than they should have, about what they know. And I think that, there's one Elevated Truth Live that he was about to go on and talk, and everybody came up and kind of bum rushed his channel and his live, and so.
Well, yeah, and I agree, KJ Mac. But the thing too, like I see in this though, is that if you're gonna do what you're being directed to do, if you're doing it for somebody else, like say, Chris, for example, right? On the Duchess thing, she was going over notes at one point and she was like, you said you wanted me to clarify some things. So it's like, okay, so then therefore they're just doing what, in my opinion, what they're being paid or told to do, right? So it's like, what a mess. What a
Oh
mess.
yeah. Oh, totally a big mess, it's a big mess.
It's like if it's a parent that's wanting you to plant distractions and stuff, that's like absurd to me.
It is. Or just, being mad about the flyers and stuff is weird to me. Like I would be thankful. So it's just a weird situation we see.
Very convenient chaos, exactly. It is.
Well, and I think with all that chaos too, I think it is, yeah, they're trying to kind of control the situation. So, I mean that's always a big red flag to me. Because why would you be trying to control a situation rather than just being grateful that people are talking, right? Because I mean, I know that they seem like they don't want people to talk, but I don't know. It's just weird.
Well, one thing's for sure, people that are coming, and you listen to LawTube and you listen to a lot of the other, true crime channels and stuff, they don't do drama whatsoever. So if you're trying to really find your son, like they presented on, America's Most Wanted and stuff like that, you would just think the last thing you would do would want to be around drama, let alone a new genre called drama.
Oh, I know exactly. I know that's it too. And the Krama people are not who they say they are either. Like, it's not like you and I just coming up here doing our thing, showing ourselves. They don't do that. They use an avatar, they use AI voice that, um, there's nothing creative or original about them. They use all of that stuff. um it's just so, it's just odd to me, that they have people that would actually support that, especially in a space where we do have real life drama going on. The drama is the missing child, right? Like that's the drama part of it.
Well, now, yeah, that's what they kind of turned it into for a bit. But a lot of these other channels, right, they weren't even there for that. I don't know how they all do it and they got involved in it, but it's a completely different, realm that you just, the last place I would be going for an interview, would be to anything like that. That would be a sure win for my story not to get out, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, KJ Max says, I found Sebastian's case from an Australian creator, zero drama. So the theatrics were quite shocking to me.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's been interesting to watch this all evolve, I'll tell you that. I was like, but that's what I mean. I'm like, do you really think that people don't look at you as a suspect? I mean, I'm sure you just talk to anybody that studies true crime or ask anybody, and that alone is suspicious. Just, but okay, make it content and make it all wacky and say that I'm saying something that's not just a normal opinion. Like it's just so horrible to say. Well, what do you expect people to say?
Right. And, they don't go to any of them. Like Fred and Sheila would probably, like, I would think of them as being a godsend, right? Like with her knowledge of, just the school, her teacher, and then we have, the seasoned cop, yeah, he's what, I think he was a cop for 40 years. Those are the people that I would choose, right? Like I would see them as being credible, really wanting to help, and not wanting to be like involved in the drama aspect. They're just looking for facts. And instead we see them going directly to the crama channels.
Yeah, like if I was picking people that were in this genres at all, I would pick people like that. But if my kid was missing, I think I would not even, I'd be trying to just go to the mainstream constantly. I try to get back on Fox and Friends. I go on Nancy Grace no matter what she said to me. I'd be going to people that are going to spread me as far as possible, you know?
Oh, definitely. And Nancy Grace, like, she goes off on everybody that's on her panel. Like, if you don't get, you're not getting enough attention from Nancy if she doesn't, go off on you once or twice in the panel. I mean, like, the United Cajun Navy guy, she went off on him like 3 times. I just watched it on Jen's channel earlier. I'm like, oh, she really does hand this guy his ass.
I mean, you could call me every name in the book. It wouldn't faze me whatsoever. I would have a piece of my heart and soul missing. What the hell would I care? Anything that would help me to find somebody that would recognize where my child is, or somebody that might know of somebody that might have taken them. That's just how I think. And hopefully to God, I never know exactly what that's like. But if I had nobody, if they wouldn't take my story, yeah, I would try anything. But I think I would do what I've seen other parents do, to be honest, and just go on their own. Do what, that's what I would advise people. I'd be like, nope, I would just be doing updates on your own and find, and then if you want to talk to people, find people like you and stuff like that. But I would just, why not? We all have phones. We all have the capability to control our own stuff and then find the right people to help.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that it just says so much that they don't want people who are actually trying to figure it out talking about it. But they don't mind if people are cussing and all in Sebastian's name. I get it. I cuss too sometimes, but I mean, I'm talking every other word. Not really forming true sentences, talking about their sex life. All of the things that we watch them do. Like, and I mean, look, I don't watch Julie Skolnick either, but I mean, if I was on a panel and Chris Proudfoot was about to come up there, I would jump off too. I don't want to be associated with people. Once I know who the person is, I don't want to be associated with them anymore.
Well, I think it's backfired times 1,000 because Sebastian didn't get forgotten. You know, Seth didn't stop talking about him. Nobody stopped Laura Lodge. You know, so many people did continue to look into things. I think, if anything, they brought more, you know, more attention, more people that even maybe weren't involved in investigating, but they are zoned in because it is such an abnormality. It, you know, no matter what, it's the truth. You know, like, I don't know what to
Right.
do, you guys, but you know,
Well, and it's hard, when you're not seeing the facts, and Women's Warrior even says they use Krama because they don't want him found. They don't want legitimate sources. It's all a game to, yeah, I agree. I agree. It's all a game. There's so much hurt and pain. And yeah, it's just, and I feel like a lot of it has been blamed on Seth that wasn't his doing. Like, for instance, they love to say how Seth was the one that asked the police about the GoFundMe on day 2, and that was Chris, and Chris admitted that. So that's not Chris's fault. In my opinion, that's people that just want to perpetuate their own bullshit narrative.
yeah, it's interesting, that's for sure. I don't know why they did that stuff. It's
Well,
doesn't.
yeah, it makes no sense. It's like, well, why are you trying to rewrite what happened when we have your friend, your guy, the one that you're supporting, is saying it himself, you know?
Well, when I saw the clip of the dressing up as Seth and stuff like that, I was like, you know what's going to happen? It's going to, it's going to be one of those things where we've heard it with other cases where they're going to take people in. I think it's 90 days they can hold you in Tennessee. And then you're going to be asked to produce Sebastian or something, like, because there's no way that people are going to keep letting that happen, in my opinion. I just don't think that you don't act like that, and think that you're not getting investigated. That's just my opinion. People are like, oh, no, that's not possible. I see it opposite. I think it is. We've seen case after case after case where most of the cases are built without physical evidence. A lot of the cases that we've had lately in the last decade. And they're all kinds of circumstantial stuff because people are making themselves look really suspicious,
Yes, absolutely. And they do, and the way that they go out and talk just on their own, the tactics, and I do think that Sebastian deserves better, but Chris will always say things like, oh, let me make it crystal clear, but none of it's clear, aloha JH. And or he might say something like, let me help you out with this, but then he never helps us out, right? I mean, it's all a game. It is a big game.
Or he said it that him, Seth and Katie all know the truth. I'll put that back up if needed. I mean, I put the clips up right away after they did the psycho thing and all of that. It's like, what are you doing, buddy? Like, what, this is a game? Like, it's not a game. I don't think this is funny, especially if you guys have highlighted in certain ways in other places that there could be a third party, and now you think this is hilarious. I don't think that's funny.
Exactly. It's not like, yeah, I think Chris is comical because of his stupidity and his pervy and crystal clear and all
Yeah.
of that. Yeah, I mean that is comical in a way, but it's maddening in the same way, because it's like Sebastian's the one that's falling through the cracks because of it. So it's the circus they made, you know.
Well, yeah, you don't come out and say these things. Like, you don't say that you guys know the truth. You don't say that you are not a suspect and you took one. You don't do all that and then expect, having all kinds of creators that just, go dogging everybody, and just, you're never going to get any opinions that hurt your feelings. Like, where are you? What world are we in right now? It just lacks any common sense. I can't help but, you know,
Well, that's what Jen was saying, like, "Oh, I feel like I'm in the twilight zone," and it's like, "Oh my gosh, I know. I bet it has to feel that way." I mean, especially with, like, how bizarre it is that Chris is putting all of his time towards, trying to sue Seth through Texana, and then Texana says, "I'm done with this. I'm not dealing with it anymore." It's got to be like so bizarre, you know?
well, that's the thing. It's like, what do you mean? Everybody's touchable. Look at P. Diddy. Look at like so many different things throughout history. It's just very bizarre behavior, across the board. It's just very bizarre. I agree. Woman's warrior. It's just awful. And in the end of it, there's still Sebastian.
There's still Sebastian. And he's still missing, and none of us know what where he is, and law enforcement of course is keeping tight-lipped, which I mean I do agree with them doing that. I do. I mean, it doesn't even matter whether I agree or not. It's what they're doing. But I just wish that they would, I mean, I was pissed enough about the whole recent FBI release, but that was because it was mostly written by the TBI, in my opinion. Sumner County Sheriff's Office. So,
Yeah, it was different. Definitely different. But that's why I'm like, well, you would think
mm,
that they would speak up on that, but I'll have to find it and send it to you, because I did. Somebody sent it to me, and he was on, I think it was QB's panel for a little bit right after um, there was all kinds of stuff with the elevated guy, that whole big thing, like a month ago.
oh yeah.
It was right after that, and because they were talking about that, and then there he was, and I'm like, oh, not a word about the FBI thing, nothing. Okay. But I didn't listen to the whole thing, because I did. It's pointless, in my opinion. What the heck am I going to listen for? Like, you lost all credibility with me, because you damn well know I didn't do any of the stuff you said that day on that panel. So,
I know that is so weird that they, and if that was really you behind there, I just know for a fact from even watching the little bit that I have of them that they would have made it a point to show
of
who was
course, they
back
would have
there.
put me up.
Yeah, they would have put you on blast, but the fact that they didn't shows that they're liars. You know what I mean? And that's the thing that gets me about a lot of this stuff, because they don't have the proof, but they still have people that are like, "Oh yeah, I'll believe that," when really, I mean,
But
you'd
other
like to
that's
believe
the thing, is
people.
like, there's a lot of stuff, that people use now, right? They fake the text, and they can even do voice stuff. And just from us talking online, it's not easy. It's not as hard as it used to be. It's gotten pretty easy. The programs and stuff aren't that expensive. So there's all kinds of fakery that can go on. But one of the things with this that's always gotten me is like, they really think that if something's erased, then that's it, just rewrite history. And I'm like, no, nothing's erased. You should have really paid attention to these communities, because everybody realizes really quick to download, screen record.
Yeah, really. I mean, I mean, that's why, I just kind of keep it up, and that way, don't get me wrong, my beginning lives weren't the best, right? I was still learning and everything I was stumbling through, but I would still rather have them up on my own accord so people can go back and watch it, and I agree, Faye. Seth's a lot stronger than I could be. Detroit's asking, what do we think about the cadaver dog hitting on number 10 storage unit at Beach Storage? Crime Time Buzz covered it earlier.
I don't know. I haven't really heard much about. I've heard rumors about it, but I didn't hear much about it. what did they do when that happened? Like, did they call Ellie to come out? Like, I don't know much about it.
Yeah, because I've never personally, and I know Jen was talking about it earlier, but I've never personally heard that they actually, like, I never heard the cadaver dogs actually hit on anything. I mean, like, to the best of my knowledge,
I'll have to go listen.
yeah, I'll have to go listen too. Like, I'd like to know, um, what's being said, because I think it's interesting if, but I don't know. Because it's been so long since, I mean, and I know Chris is coming out with new information talking about how they hit some dogs. I don't even know if they were cadaver dogs or not at this point. We're over on the dam.
Hmm.
The best of my knowledge, I mean, there's a way that Katie could have, taken that road home and been over by that dam herself. Although I just don't think she had enough time. And she would have had to weight Sebastian down with something. Unfortunately, I hate to say that, but
Well, a lot of those spots too are just like, they're kind of like pull off points, right? It's like where teens used to go to kiss or make out, or people go to, sell a rug or something. And so I don't know, did she drop him off to somebody else possibly?
right.
Or make him get out and walk? I mean, I just think there's something about the way that they discussed that night that always makes me question if he just didn't come home. And since we don't have any elaboration, right, from them, from LE, we don't really know. Like, is it just a recording that you're going off of? Because that's what it seems like Seth was under the impression. And so I don't know. Or did they know he really got in the house? They just don't know how he left. That's possible too, if jammers are used and stuff like that, right? So it's like,
I was wondering if they hacked into those people's on the corner, the flashlight video people. I was wondering that myself because it just seems like I don't know. Like, because their cameras were hardwired, so I know that you can only jam up a Wi-Fi camera.
That's what I've been hearing. 'Cause I know you guys talked about it with Canine Jules a bit too.
We did, and they never found a scent that led to Sebastian was the one main thing that we talked about. You know,
Yeah, we'll have to go look. Well, yeah, I've never heard that they would hit on a mouse.
no. But it's just like in the other case with Monkey Vaughn, they were saying that cadaver dogs hit on poop, which is like they don't do that, right? They're not trained in order to do, and what good would that do?
Yeah.
You know?
Hmm.
A stoplight exchange could explain it. KJ Mack and a lot of those stoplights don't have cameras. There's sensors, but there's no cameras on them.
Yeah.
Right, Mom? And I mean, I'm trying to think back because I wasn't recording all the lights and stuff, which would have been that would have been a good thing to do is go back, from the Texas Roadhouse. But we still don't even know what route Katie took home.
No, but we could do that from where we are remotely too, because they have that app in Tennessee that shows you all the traffic cams.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I think Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom showed me that. That would be cool if we got together and did another live. Like, we should invite Jen up and do like a live panel, looking at all of those. That'd be really interesting. I think people might like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll do the same, Cheryl. I haven't caught a lot of her stuff in a while because I remember she was sick, and I'll have to go check out. I hope she's doing better. Trying to.
Yes, and she changed her phone number, so I haven't talked to her because I have her old phone number. Not the new one.
Yeah,
So,
you're it. Beside, I think you're the only creator that I speak to or have contact with in this
well,
realm of crime drama or true crime. You're true crime. I don't call you crime drama.
I try not to be trauma too much, but I guess some of the videos, the memes and stuff I've added to
Yep.
could be a little bit of trauma related, but I try to at least add a little bit of fun to the videos, although it's not a fun subject. Um, yeah, I did see that too, Detroit. Yeah, yeah, which was really cool that Silvers went out and searched. You know.
Well, that's the thing, like, too, is like, I've said to people, it's not that I think any of us even remotely thought that there would be drama like that, but that's unfortunately what has tied to Sebastian's case. It's just the way that it is. It's sad.
It
But
is sad.
when I do content, I try to be the same and not make a joke out of when we're talking about something serious. But also, it's like I'm stuck in this algorithm and I have to live here, and I'm like, these people, like, it's hard for me not to say stuff back because they know that they're tanking the channel,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it annoys the heck out of me.
Well, and just being stuck in the algorithm is tough, you know. Um, it just is, because it's not a place that we want Sebastian, but it's also not a place we want to be either in terms of, how we're associated, because I would rather be a part of, the you know, algorithm with even like Chris McDonough, in the interview room or something like that, which I mean, I think I kind of am, but not as much as I'd like to be. Or, somebody like Stephanie Harlow. I mean, I know she's had like personal drama more so than internet drama, but I mean, that's life. So,
Yeah.
and he does deserve to be found, Mama. He does.
Oh, absolutely, Mama.
Yeah. I mean, no doubt about it. And I think it will take us going back to the beginning and looking through those, and I know it's a tedious process, but also just checking out where there could have been a handoff. If we're to believe that there was no 3 a.m. light video and the police are telling us the truth, then let's work some other theories in the meantime. I don't see how that would hurt.
Well, that's the thing that I think, for me looking at it, that's always been a positive is that we do know there's a $50,000 reward from the FBI. We do know that there's been some great people that have put time and effort into the case, even though it might not be today, right? Like, I think we will all have answers eventually. It's just, you know, it's heartbreaking because it's not today. And then what else can you do but theorize and talk about it? And I'd rather you come up in the algorithm when people are searching for Sebastian than for them to land on something where somebody is, cursing at another, the stepdad is cursing out another creator and saying horrible stuff.
Mm-hmm. Or, having the stepdad come out and making fun of the, biological father,
Oh, yeah.
is wrong too. Like, we just don't ever see that stuff. Like, I can't think of one case where anybody would have the audacity to do that and then still be out and nothing, no accountability. That's the big trouble that I have, um, is the no accountability.
I know it feels like there is none because it's been so long, but I just don't think that's how it's going to work out. I believe a lot in the whole holy connections and God's tender mercies, and I don't expect anybody to believe in the same, to believe in Jesus like I do, and I don't fit into a cookie cutter, quote unquote religion. I know that, but I do really think that he's had his part in this whole case, you know, and that eventually it's gonna happen and truth will prevail and Sebastian's name can't be tied to all the awful stuff that has been put onto him. So there's going to be good that's going to come of it. I know it. And he's going to be known for who he is. And if he's with us, he'll be, known. And if he's not, his memory will not be tainted in such a horrible way.
Well, and I agree with what you're saying too. And I think it's just like you said, just believing in God, believing in Jesus, having that knowledge of knowing that good is always going to prevail over evil. And that's really what we're seeing in these cases. I mean, that's all I could think about was Michael Monkey Vaughn. It's like that's all I could think about was that these people are pure evil, and I honestly think that Chris and Katie are pure evil because they wouldn't be getting off on what they're doing if they weren't, right. They would have a conscience. At some point Katie would have came clean. At some point Katie would have started telling the truth. They don't have a conscience. They don't I mean, and the people that are their spokespeople, I don't know what we would call them, but just Clue and Cletus for one, they put up like they put themselves in as devils. I mean, I get some of it again is like a shock jock, you know, thing where they're trying to shock people, and the more that they, act bad, the more that they're going to get recognized for it. But again, at a certain point, I just can't believe they don't look at themselves and see that they're not helping. I mean, they're just and it is. It seems like one of the most ultimate battles of good versus evil that I've ever seen, you know.
Well, that, and I was thinking too, it's like if they did, I don't know how to say it exactly, like if they did make an agreement, and then they're stuck, because I know that a lot of times when people are in a contract, like you have to, and I'm not saying they're in a contract, but you can't do your own content. Like you have to do whatever you're told pretty much, And I'm like, I
Right.
always wonder, like, is that what happened? And we'll learn about that one day. And then you're just completely stuck. That's it. Like that's who you are now on YouTube, like, but at what point, I mean, I don't know if I could, I don't know. I don't know what I would do if I was in a situation like that, but I would think because it's an active case and they are suspects just by default, that you wouldn't have to be held legally to that. I always want to see the good in people, and try so hard. That's
I
why I don't
know.
go back and
No,
watch
I
and I
have
have to
too, Mom. And
listen. Uh,
yeah, I mean, you do try to also empathize with another human, like just the for example, it can be hard to be in a blended family. So if you put yourself in Chris's position, he's a stepdad to Sebastian. I call him a stepfoot because, we have evil stepmothers out there. Well, we have stepfoots too for stepdads that are evil. In my opinion, he is. He liked to control Sebastian. He liked to make fun of him. His family made fun of him. They would even talk about Sebastian in the break room, according to one of Terry Bowersox's old coworkers, that he would even talk about this child. Like, I don't know anybody who does that. Like, to me, that's like completely out of left field. And, to even fathom it. I can't think of one child in my family that I'd ever talk bad about in the break room. I might be bragging on them like, oh, they won a soccer game, or, oh, they're just so cute. And, I might show a picture to my friend or something, but that's not what they were doing. They were calling him, again, the R word.
Well, I agree. It is shocking because if anything, when you're talking bad about them, you're talking bad about yourself then because you are your child in a lot of ways, right? We mold them into the little people that they are. And if they're going through hard times and they're exhibiting things that we, you know, feel like we can complain about, then we're the ones that need to find a way to help.
They definitely modeled our behaviors. That's a great point too, Mom. And I mean, they are they're representing who we are as well, because they're picking up everything from us. And again, I think that's what upset me the most about, and I know I bring it up a lot, but it does bother me what Chris was showing Sebastian, and then Sebastian's acting inappropriately. Well, of course he's going to, because you showed him that dirty song. And, you had no business doing that. Especially when Sebastian went through what he did.
It's horrible.
Well, Women's Warrior says it's another level of hatred and depravity. Targeting him is absolutely bizarre, in my opinion. I agree. And him saying, Aunt Melissa, stop it. I mean, he was being bullied at his own birthday party. And then to what your point was earlier, Mom, and when you were talking about how, just his voice changing and things, like we could hear that in that same video later on when they were playing the game, and he was talking with the teammate, or the other girl that was playing, and he said something like, you have to get this much or something like that, and then Melissa scolded him. You could tell his voice had already changed, or it was in the middle, maybe.
Yeah, like I have two sons that are older now, right? I have one in the military and one that is going to be 15. It's night and day. And sometimes it happens really fast, right? Like they were saying during the summer and stuff. But we weren't looking for, a kid that had gone through the hormonal phase, that his whole appearance looks so different in Texas Roadhouse, and even from the birthday video, from what I can see in a way. But from everything that was out there in the beginning, it was just like, what in God's green earth? Why? It's like, why wouldn't you want us to know what he looks like? And I always hope, like my husband says, we hoped that means it's because he's out there somewhere, and that's what you want to think, that he's good, right? Like Seth said in that interview, he wants to think he's playing video games somewhere.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that would be the best case scenario, that they are hiding him out. And I know Chris has said that a lot lately, and I'm like, oh, that's bull crap. Don't listen to him. He's just, trying to push us off. But, it would be nice if he's telling on himself and telling half truths on that too. That would be nice, because that means that Sebastian is out there someplace. At least somebody's at least letting him play video games. That's something he enjoys, and it just, gosh, I still can't shake the feeling that I got when I was going into the neighborhood, and it was both times. It was the same feeling, and it's just it's just very bizarre. Good night, Bo. Thanks for being here.
Well, that's the thing, it's like you would hope that's the case, but it's hard to believe that, because that somebody's going to end up going to jail because it is a crime. Remember you guys talked about that. I think it was you wasn't it with you and Canine Jules? Because it is actually a crime, and there's been a lot of misunderstandings that it's oh, it's nothing. It would be like a misdemeanor, right? But no, it is. Like, it would be a big thing. It wouldn't just be, you know,
Yeah, that was the one that we did with Don B too. So it was me and well, it was me, Jen, Don B, and K9 Jules, and we were all speculating on that very thing. Like, hey, if say Sebastian just shows up when he's 18, right? And in some places, even 17 can be considered an adult. But either way, if he shows up, anytime, but they keep saying 18. That I'm talking about Chris Prodfoot. But and some of his supporters, it's still a crime. You've still concealed this child when he had just turned 15. So in my opinion, they would be in trouble for a lot of things. I mean, lying to the law, false reporting, just a whole bunch of things that they could just slap them with. And it reminds me of like what Sherry Papini did, or what Carly Russell did, pretending like they got kidnapped, but they didn't, type of a thing.
well, yeah, I mean, and I think obviously, like, they would utilize a lot of what they've done, right? I would think they would. I don't see how they would be able to pretend that they weren't aware or complicit because of all the behaviors. I just don't think that would work.
That's what KJ Maxx said too. Wouldn't that be kidnapping? I would think so. I mean,
Mhm.
I would think they would get in trouble for that. You're welcome, Troopers Mom. I'm glad you got it. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's unbelievable that they think that, oh, well, if we produce him when he's 18, it almost does feel like they're putting out some feelers. But then again, I almost feel like they're still pushing it off. Like, maybe people won't talk about it anymore if we tell them that, because people will at least think that he's going to come back at some point. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to tell what they're thinking.
I agree, KJ, and that's the whole thing. Like, and to me, it's like maybe that's something that we'll find out. Who knows? The guy with the gray T-shirt from the ring, where people saw somebody hiding behind a tree. Maybe he came and took him. Hypothetically, who knows? But at the
Mm.
end of the day, that I don't. I would think that something might have happened then, because you're saying that he has, a lot of needs, and he's going through the teen years, and I just can't see somebody getting paid off and the FBI not tracking them right down and getting Sebastian with just technology. Um, I think it sounds like wishful thinking, but I sure hope that he's okay, and I sure hope that. Of course we do, but I don't know.
Yeah, I sure hope so. I mean, that would be ideal. Hey, Chow. I mean, it would be ideal for us to just know that he's going to be back one day. I'd really like to believe it, but it's hard to believe, especially when, some of the other things that he has stated has been, well, he's got to be out there dead in the woods, and if he's not there, then he's going to need a lot of help. And it's like, what?
Yeah. Yep. No, I agree.
Deliberate, though. I agree with Tranquility too. I mean, it seems very deliberate that they're trying to hurt Seth and make him suffer.
Oh my gosh. It's just, I can't understand that.
Yep. And Mama says, talking about all the psychological help he will need. And he did bring that up to Fred and Sheila in the October call of last year, October 2024 call. So,
Yeah, I'm reading the chat. Hi, Chow. How are you?
I know, I love that picture. It's so cute.
So old doggy.
Oh, what's a little kitty cat?
Oh, oh, I can
See?
see now. Oh, it looks like she's smiling. Here he is smiling.
I know, right? It looks like she's it is so cute. I love kittens. Like cats are just so cute. Um, yeah, things
Oh,
appear. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that too, KJ Mac. Just saying the things they say appears to have the intention to cause harm.
well, I've always thought and hoped, that there'll be answers and that it could just be, a sealed indictment somewhere or who knows. But like I said earlier, when Chris talked about the cell phones and things like that, and I'm always, thinking, well, you never know. Maybe there is a much bigger investigation and we will all have answers. Most importantly, obviously, Seth and his parents. If Katie doesn't truly know, or I mean, I can't imagine, but
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, I'm thinking, well, especially if that warrant was sealed, which, I mean, it would be smart if they did that. Because once the public knows, we're all going to be like, oh my gosh, like we are. So I could see them keeping it quiet. And then the sealed indictment seems even more likely with that information, if that information is true.
have a great day at work.
Yes, KJ. Yes, I know, Mom, and I guess we should probably get off of here because we've been on for a while. But I always love having lives with you because you're just very knowledgeable. You remember a lot of the stuff in the beginning, and you had a different kind of perspective too. Um, I saw everybody talking about how they got into Sebastian's case, and it's like all of us kind of, got into it in different ways. Mine was Pascal, how I started following his case. So
Well, that's what I think is great about all of us being able to talk and stuff because it just shows how different things can appear, right? And how we can hear different bits and pieces. And
oh yeah, or sometimes, there's lives out there that one person might have seen that none, not other people saw, I mean, because there was so much information coming out about his case and so much interest that, there's a lot of stuff like the one that you had sent me. I had never heard that one. I think it wasn't Barbecue Lady, was it? It might have been Barbecue Lady.
there was Barbecue Lady, and that was her name Tammy or
Cammy, okay, yeah. Like I never heard that one. Girl, I never heard that one until I listened to it.
well,
That's how
did
I
you
was like, oh wow, Chris is search and rescue for Tsunami, but he can't go look for Sebastian. What the hell is that about?
Yeah, there was nothing. I don't think the whole thing I heard, I'd have to check, but I think that was the one that was kind of like, wow, like 99.99, if not 100%, not about Sebastian. The whole thing.
And oh my gosh, and that's terrible, isn't it? It's like
It's like an
it,
hour.
and I think that's why it was so hard to get through because it really didn't have very much about Sebastian in it at all. It was more talking to Chris, and I don't know if they're trying to get us more comfortable. Thank you, Chow, for the gifted membership. If you got a membership from Chow, make sure you say thank you and welcome to the Dragon Tribe. Um, Aw, thanks, Chow. This little cat is so cute. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, Mom, and it's just weird, right? It's all weird.
Oh, it really is. I mean, I don't get it. I don't think any of us get it. But there was so much in the beginning, and that's the thing. People get so annoyed sometimes when we talk about stuff, and I'm like, what the heck are you mad? There was more people watching back then because it was all over. So there was a lot of people watching compared to like nowadays. And I'm like, you really think that nobody else remembers but me? Like, oh, let's just shut her down, shut her up, get her away. Like,
Yeah, really. I mean, look, and the thing is that's so funny is that we're like smaller channels. So, we might have like 100 people, or I think the most I've had was like 200 in the chat. and yeah, I've had a lot of views on videos and stuff, but I mean, for the most part, I'm not reaching the type of audience that some are, but they're just so worried about us. And that's why I thought it'd be funny to do We're Your Worst Nightmare and you show Sebastian's flyer and I'll be the
Yeah,
detective.
I had it taped on me. I had them taped on me, but it wouldn't stay on this fabric. But no, but I'm like, you realize, like, God forbid if you were worried that it was could lead to evidence or something, which I highly doubt because it's on the internet, but you never know, right? I'm just hypothetically speculating. Why would then don't be mad at me because Nancy Grace, Dateline, God knows who's sitting on it all. There was a ton of people that watched it. So what do you think? It's all somewhere, but it's definitely with the investigators. Like, come on,
Oh
like
yeah. And I mean, I'm sure they just love listening to all this crap on YouTube. Like I'm sure it's not their cup of tea, but they have to listen for it because like I said, there's just too much that goes on here for them to pretend like it doesn't. I think that's why I was upset with Craddock in the beginning, but maybe he's saying that in order for us, for them to feel more comfortable and then just keep on, like you said, doing the tours. But then again, I'm also like, come on, let's get it going.
anybody
Um,
that is a suspect or a person of interest, they're going to listen to them. So, of course, if there's a parent somewhere or an immediate family member or somebody that they think could be, a suspect, they're going to dig into you. That's why Elevated Goof, when he did that, that was really low. That was a low blow. Like when he did that to me in September, that was not nice. Like,
no, exactly. Well, I know, and
putting them on
that's
a wild goose chase.
but he's like that, but he is like that, and I know just from personal experience dealing with his crap.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like
yeah.
weenie heads, weenie heads.
No,
I'm like, I don't even know what to say.
it's so not okay. Like, I mean, and I don't understand how, again, a guy gets into that.
Oh yeah,
I
but
don't
you
know.
went real life. You went real life, you jerk. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, and it's like he wouldn't want that done to his family, so why would he do it?
No,
Especially, it's
he want
weird.
his
It's
name
so
out. He
weird.
doesn't even use his name.
Yeah, no, no. And it's just, but I agree
Everybody
with what you
knows
were
one
saying
name.
earlier. It just shows us who people are,
That's
and
what
it
I
just
always.
kind of brings it out.
Oh my God, I know. It just annoys me because I'm like, you probably are just a content creator, but that was a jerk move. Um, but it's funny because sometimes I still get those weird comments that are like, I know your name. And I'm like, yeah, because my name wasn't secret. It's just everybody always calls me Cece. But yeah, my name is Charity Ann. Like it's not a secret. It's not like I'm not hiding. You know?
No, mom, and they said I was in the witness protection
I
program, and they tell
know.
this to the Canadian people. And no offense to my, because I love my Canadian people in here. I just love Canadian people. You guys are, they're just fun people. But it's like no, and then they're telling this poor people in Canada, oh, Lady Freedom says she's in witness protection, and I'm like, do they not just tune into my show and see me? Because I mean, now I use my avatar more often, but um that's because I've gotten too comfortable. But it's also podcast style, and I realize not everybody's watching. So
I
um
do it because it's more comfortable. Like, guys, you don't need to look up my nose. But they said I was an AI. I lived in my car. I was homeless. I was only
oh
here because I
Lord.
wanted to be famous and I wanted money. But then I don't make content. I didn't monetize. I wasn't asking for money. So I'm like, what else are you going to call me next?
I
How
made you
about you just take the
monetize. I was
show?
like momming it up, and you need to monetize. You need to monetize.
Yeah.
Well, because I mean, it's just it's a lot of work. I mean, even just like listening through a lot of this stuff is just it's taxing. I can't explain it. Um, but I feel like I'm always going, go, 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 go.
Well, it's okay because I'm monetizing. Well, I monetized, but Gristmas is coming. I do have
Oh,
three.
yeah. Griftmas.
And
Oh, no.
since I'm the psycho of the new area of this area now, I can't even get a good damn job, right, Earl? So we're gonna Chris a lot. I'm gonna have him come on. He'll do some strip dances. Oh, he's already naked. Damn.
There you go, Mom. I love your skeleton in the background too. That is so
You know
cute.
what? I got him
Earl.
tonight. You know how much Earl cost? You gotta get to Walgreens, everybody. Earl was only $7.
Oh, no kidding. I love Halloween, like doing that. That's how I got the mask.
And
And
he's
the
a
the
good poser.
Cruella, and I was like, we'll put that with the giveaway.
He's supposed to be a full-size posable one, and he seems pretty good, but it just
He's
shows you the market.
tall. Like he looks like he's as tall as you are.
Yeah, he is.
Oh my
He was
gosh.
$2, but I got him for $7 at Walgreens right now because they clearance out
I
tonight.
love the ghost lights.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to
That
find
was
a
me
way of
yesterday
getting
at
people.
Walmart when I was on the phone with you. I was like, "Oh, I'm hitting up," but they clear it out quick here. Like
Yeah.
they were all about getting,
That the lady told me tomorrow
Christmas.
they have to take them in the back. So she was like, if you know anybody, tell them to put a pickup order in. Just go into the app and see whatever stores are near you and just get all the stuff for a pickup order to try to get it or just go in person.
Yes. Well, I was so glad that you wanted to do the Halloween thing because I was like I was waiting on Amazon and then I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, it's never going to get here. And then they finally delivered it because I would have had it Saturday. Um, but yeah, they were like, the office is closed. And I was like, well, you could bring it to put it on the picnic table or something. Like, so, but I thought that was awesome that you were available too, because I know everybody was doing trunk or treats with the kids and, all of that. I got a picture of my daughter and her boyfriend. She was the Pikachu and he was the boy from, I'm not familiar with all of that kind of stuff, but she made a cute Pikachu, that's for sure.
Aw, that's awesome. That
Yeah.
was the thing. It was like, how do we do it without it being, tacky and or disrespectful to talking about Sebastian or but then it's like it's his favorite holiday, and if he is out there, there's a lot of us that think highly of you and don't ever think that you're not, cared for and, we think that they're jerks for talking about you like that. They're
Aw, thank you,
jerks.
Mom. And I feel the same way about you. I'm like, I love, having you up on panel. Like you bring so much to the table. And I think that's like part of the reason why they do want to kind of silence the people that do, have some smart commentary because they can't really say much else. But, I don't know about you. I don't feel like I'm a green team. I just feel like I'm Sebastian's army. We're trying to get awareness out there, but I also I don't like seeing anybody else getting, like, I don't like it on either side, and I know you feel the same way, but it's just, either way,
Well,
I
I
just don't want
agree.
people to get hurt. I mean, that's not the goal.
No, and I totally agree with you. And I think it's just that there's just, we can have fun and there's a time and a place for anything, but you and I can be feisty too. We're not perfect. It's just about
Oh,
being
I'm feisty.
respectful. You
Yes.
know, he's a missing child. We're talking about things that are, like have some decency. I mean, we're not perfect. We're not pretending to be perfect,
Oh
but
God, no. And I do. I get really feisty and I get spicy and fired up and I'm like, oh, especially like with the pig fest stuff I did, I was like, I can't believe they don't you want to let, but it is their choice whether they allow for things or not, and I get it. I just saw so many opportunities that we could have really, brought awareness. And I know that a lot of times
we
people
did.
don't. I get it. It's a tough subject and people are trying to have a good time and you know It is.
You have your
It's
shirts on. So, I mean, there's not just, that's just like having the flyer.
right. And I love that, you know? I do. I love having that shirt. I love having the bag because, you know, that way I know that, you know, because you can't wear the same shirt every day, but you know, your bag, you carry it around. I think that's such a good
Yes.
idea.
Yeah, I got to get another one because the one I had, its face got way crumpled and it was just awfully like, I'm not going to carry that around. He's missing half of his cheek.
I know. Well, and I want, I know. Well, and I wanted to even see how we could get some of those made even for Devlin's mom because I know she'd like to have one of those. Um,
Yeah,
you
I got to
know,
see like how is it really that like, because I printed two of the iron-ons, but I'm wondering if there's got to be a lower cost way to do it because even for me right now, like things, everything has gone through the roof. So our finances
everything.
are not, I can't just spend $100 like I used to be able to have my little mad money. So
I
there's got to be a
know.
way to help and get her a couple and do it a little less pricey than the people that print them as a business.
I know. Exactly. Well, and you just hate to like sell things like that, but then again, you know, I mean, how else can you do it? And then on top of it, I wouldn't want to take from Seth, but I also think that it's a good idea for other missing parents too. So and again, like what you said, everything is getting so outrageous and people are losing their benefits and things like that. It's just been really, really rough. And I finally talked Jessica into doing a GoFundMe. I didn't even ask her really. I was like, we're doing it, you know. I was like, you need to do this. You need to get back over there to Michigan. You also need to get yourself, you need to take care of yourself, and that's the biggest thing I think, that I've tried to convey to her is just she's got to take care of herself and she can't think about, Sabrina taking the reward money and them looking badly on her. You
No.
know,
Well, that's what I told you. We'll talk about it, but if she wants, I'll have her come on and I can, do my little part. But like I agree
yeah.
with you, Seth is, he would never get mad. And I know I don't talk to him and I've never spoken to him, but I know he wouldn't be upset with me printing out for myself, but I wouldn't go selling them,
I
not
know. I
because
know.
first thought. But I know he wouldn't care one bit about it if you're doing it for the right reason. But no, I think he deserves help. I think that everybody does. And if you have a problem with it, oh well, get off YouTube then. How about that? You don't have a problem making 10 grand, a month off of crap, but I'm gonna stop. I'm tired. I'm gonna be nice.
I get it though, mom, and I do because it gets to the point where it's like, okay, well, you know,
Yeah, I'm like, if I have to do a little krama to help a woman feel good about herself and then to have her teeth comfortable or to get her to the area where her child's in, then I'll play ball.
yeah. Well, and I mean that's the thing because I know that it's probably bubbling and a brewing, and
2 years of me trying to be really nice. I'm trying very hard because I want Sebastian to have decency, but it's like, come on, people. Oh God.
well, and it does get to the point where it's like, I like to debunk things, and of course, it just it's it sucks because it's recognition for the people who are acting like buttholes, and really that's what they're looking for. I think is attention and recognition, but so they can go back and be like, hey. I just got kicked out. I got blocked over by Lady Freedom, woohoo, or something. It's like, okay, well, good for you. Um, you know, but yeah, sometimes you just have to call it out because it just gets to the point where it's like you're actually going into chats other places and telling things about, something that Chris Proudfoot did when Seth did, but blaming it on Seth. I'm like,
Well, yeah, then The weirdest thing I think I found of all of this is the people like watch like a hawk. And like I told you, I'm in one chat. I don't hear 900% of the content. Well, there's only 100%. But if there's, I'm not listening. Like I missed all these huge, massive amounts of the show. And I go in and I'm just like, I like, they seem like a nice person to listen to, while I'm doing something. And then it's like,
Yeah.
well, hell breaks loose. Now all of a sudden, like you're over there. And I'm like, God, you guys need to like relax. If this is really
Yeah.
what you do all day is just watching the chat and you think it's like, oh my gosh, like,
I know. Well, and that's why I hate like outing another creator. I just can't with, some of it. I'm like, I might as well talk about it because it's a subject people are talking about, so might as well, but
yeah,
it's not helpful,
I agree.
you know.
I totally agree. It does seem like that.
They have done a lot to stop the search and to stop, the fires and, and that sort of thing. They've done a lot. Um and it is unfortunate. And I mean, they did swoop in and, oh, we're sponsors and, all of that nonsense back and forth. But, one thing that I learned is I think a lot of people do know about Sebastian and they do care.
I kind of sometimes I told you, like, I kind of almost feel bad. And that's why I think people get so like suspicious because there's so much nonsense that's happened. And I get it, They're like, oh, well, then she must be with Clue or she's with Chris, or I'm like just playing what for what? Like, but it's because I also am like, do you realize like what you're doing to yourself? Like this is awful. Like when I think about it, like Clue, that's it. Like that's what she's known for now. You
Yeah,
know what I
because in the
mean? Like
beginning
that's
she
it. Like
was, yeah, she was kind of trying to figure things out, I think, and then,
yeah, like I can't help but kind of like feel bad. I'm like, if people are telling me this looks great, like no, it looks awful. I'm just being honest. Like you have a
yeah.
huge ski mask on the sign, and when you click on it, the content is off the charts for that day. You know?
Oh, I know. Like that's what was really surprising to me. I was like, like you're not going to even try to change it, that kind of a thing.
Like,
Hey, Jen.
and I get it, but I think that's just how I am with everything in my life. I could always be, objective, even if I don't like somebody or I don't like their personality, I could still, empathize with like, okay, well, maybe they did this because of something else, or maybe that, or, but I'm like,
Yeah. Well, and I think I would be able to listen to her if she was talking about true crime cases because I do think that we all have something to bring to it. But when it's not really anything to do with any of that, I'm not interested. Like I watch a lot of true crime.
yeah,
Um, you
same.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so I
didn't
would
really
rather
care.
watch that. Like I'd rather watch somebody, again like Stephanie Harlow or Grizzly's really good. Some of the ones that I watch. Matt Thibodeau, I really enjoy him. He's got great updates. Um, so I gear myself more towards the people that are actually talking true crime. Same with your channel. Even Little Red, does a lot with the true crime. So,
Well,
um,
it's boring to me too. It's like even at least when you're watching reality TV, it was sad years ago when we realized a lot of it was also kind of scripted and edited, but it's different. And it's like the few times that I check these other channels, I'm like, this is so boring. How are you still going out one person? What are you doing? Like, how are you all here every day? Your mental health cannot be good. And then I'm like, if I had to do it for work, right? If I was paid to do it, you'd have to pay me a lot. I don't think I could do it. I would not be able to do it. There's no way. Just like
no,
I couldn't do it. You know, I'd
I
be so
agree.
bored.
I think it's boring. I also think it's boring for like our audience too that listens to us because I think they are looking for true crime updates and stuff like that.
Yes.
They don't really, I mean, yes, they like to hear it from us and stuff, and but I think you know, that's another thing that I've learned through the process is that like the people that are here, they're actually here to hear about true crime, not all
Yes.
the other baloney, which is just that's just what it is
It's
baloney,
not
you
interesting.
know.
Like
It's
if
just
you're going to Starbucks, you want a coffee. You're not going there trying, to get, well, a burger. I guess they sell food, but you know what I mean. Like you're not going to Starbucks to buy a book.
right, exactly. Unless it's in a Barnes and Noble, but usually I'll just like read a a couple excerpts. I'll read a little bit while I'm there. Why not?
Yeah, you can
But
tell it's time for bed because my analysis are really bad. My own allergies, for
you're so
example.
funny, Mom. And no, but you're right though. I see what you're saying. It's like, there's a reason people are coming in. I mean, yes, they like to talk with each other and and all of that, but I think it also has a lot to do with, what they're looking for. And I don't see how they could hate on a particular person every single day. Like it would get so old.
Not a
You
clue.
know.
But I wish them well. I wish everybody well, unless you heard Sebastian or somebody, but I don't think they did. I'm just saying, like I do. I wish the best for everyone, and I wish that people could, just be a little more decent when we talk about these kids. These are
Oh, yeah.
active cases, and we should be helpful in some way.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is awareness, and then also talking on the theories. I know that not everybody's going to agree on that, but it's always good to work through. And I'm interested in continuing on to work with other creators in that way. Like even the collaboration that we had with Don B and Jules and Jen it's just really been so valuable. And I'd rather listen back to one of my lives when I have other people on the panel, not just me talking the whole time. So um
Well,
you
thank
know
you for having me, and thank you all for being here,
yes,
talking with us, and hopefully we all have answers soon.
I sure hope so. Yeah, let's do it again very soon, Mama, and we'll get together for another collab. I would love to do the cameras, like going over those, and you can kind of show us around because you're familiar with the area. And I am a little bit, but something might even click in for me if we're doing that. I think that would be really cool to do that. So.
Sounds great. We definitely will have to.
All right, Mom. And well, thank you so much. And thank you guys all for being here. And we're going to sign off. So, love you guys all and have a great rest of your night.